Hawa'ah, which is when you come into the land. Deals with the first fruits of Yahweh, tithes and prayer, the covenant between Yahweh and Yasha'Allah. Moses goes into the law, discusses crossing the Jordan, building an altar, also goes into the blessings and the curses. We'll put a procedure about what's going to happen to the children of Israel if they decide to go against what Yahweh said to do in his laws, commandments, and statutes in the Torah. Okay? So the first section is going to be Deuteronomy chapter 26, and we start with verse 1. Again, this is the Mashurah Yasha'Allah Office of Torah, the official voice of our people for halakha, midrash, Torah application, and Torah understanding. All right, so we'll start at Deuteronomy chapter 26, verse 1. All right. Magwa, Barakwa, Yabarakaka Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. You start in chapter 26, verse 1, and you stop at verse 11.
It will be when you enter the land that Hashem, your Elohim, gives you as an inheritance, and you possess it and dwell in it, that you shall take of the first of every fruit of the ground that you bring from your land that Hashem, your Elohim, gives you, and you shall put it in a basket and go to the place that Hashem, your Elohim, will choose to make his name rest there.
Which is talking about Jerusalem. Go ahead.
You shall come to whoever will be the Kohen
The priest.
In those days, and you shall say,
Yahweh.
Hashem Yahweh swore to our forefathers to give us. The Kohen shall take the basket from your hand and lay it before the altar of Hashem Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall call out and say before Hashem Yahweh your Elohim, and Armin said to destroy my forefather. He descended to Egypt and sojourned there.
So a wandering Aramean was my father, which means that our father Jacob dwelt among the Arameans. That's where he started his family at, and where he married Rachel and Leah in the land of Haran. Okay, go ahead.
Few in number, and there he became a nation great, strong, and numerous. The Egyptians mistreated us and afflicted us, and Hashem voice and saw our affliction.
Captives, enslaved, and oppressed in America, Mexico, Puerto Rico, and became nations again. Some of us have sovereign nation status among the UN nations, and some of us just have an identity of our own, not recognized or on any sovereign level by other countries. Go ahead.
Our travail and our oppression, Hashem Yahweh took us out of Egypt with a strong hand and with an outstretched arm, with great awesomeness and with signs and wonders.
I mean the death and the destruction, the miracles of the death and destruction that Yahweh showed when we came out of Egypt, and he's gonna do the same thing again when we look in Ezra chapter 15, verse 10. Yahweh's going to bring the same plagues that he brought on ancient Egypt upon America. All right, go ahead.
He brought us to this place, and he gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey.
Milk and honey meaning that it has a perfect ecosystem for the bees to make the honey and for the cows to eat the grain and the grasses to make the milk. And the cows, of course, are pooping and they fertilizing the grass and the soil. It's making the flowers and the grass and stuff can grow better, right? And the cows are keeping everything all down and measured, not measured, but to a nice level. And they're eating it. And then the flowers come up and blossom, and then the bees go and make the honey. Go ahead.
And now behold,
But not only the honey, but they make they pollinate, what they call pollinate the other flowers too, so that they can grow. All right, so Yahweh is showing us how we're gonna have a good agricultural system, with the cows to give us milk and cheese and meat and yogurt, and the sheep and the goats will do the same thing. And then he's gonna give us the agriculture from the plants and the flowers, all right, to give us fruits and vegetables from the trees and the vines. Go ahead.
and now behold, I have brought the first fruit of the ground that you have given me, O Hashem Yahweh, and you shall lay it before Hashem Yahweh your Elohim, and you shall prostrate yourself before Hashem Yahweh your Elohim.
Which means to bow down. Right, because we have 7 kinds that were mentioned in Deuteronomy chapter 8, verse 8, as symbols of the fruitfulness of the land, right? Which is wheat and barley, vines and figs, pomegranates, olives, and date honey. All right, not 8 but 7, 7 categories rather. All right, so we made the profession saying that that we recognize Yahweh and recognize and thank Him for what He's given us. Go ahead.
You shall rejoice with all the goodness of Hashem Yahweh your Elohim has given you, and your household, and you, the Levite, and the proselyte who is in your midst.
The proselyte is the Gentile, the stranger that lives among us. It says Hagar, thee, and Ngar, which means a person of a different nation that come to live among you. All right. Next reading, verses. So 12 through 15, and then after that, do 16 through 19.
When thou hast made an end of tithing all the tithes of thine increase, the 3rd year.
The tithe is 10% of the increase from your animals and from your crops. It's not the tithe of 10% of everything that you had in your pockets that you made from your job. There's agriculture, all right, and husbandry, animals, flocks, herds, crops. That's what your tithe was. People that were less fortunate. Go ahead.
Which is the year of tithing, and hath given it unto the Levite, the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, that they may eat within thy gates and be filled. Then thou shalt say before Yahweh thy Elohim, I have brought away the hallowed things out of my house, and have given them unto the Levite, and unto the stranger, to the fatherless, and to the widow, according to all thy commandments, which thou hast commanded me. I have not transgressed thy commandments, neither have I forgotten them.
So the way the law is set up, Yahweh expected for a Levite to be in everybody's gates. Just like you have people whose husbands died, and people whose fathers died, and people that were foreigners. He also expected Levites to be there. So we're supposed to have Levites in all of the gates, all of the cities. teaching us the laws, and helping us with judicial matters. All right, so that's why it says Levites and all these things also. All right, go ahead.
I have not eaten thereof in my mourning, neither have I taken away aught thereof for unclean use, nor given aught thereof for the dead, but I have hearkened to the voice of Yahweh my Elohim, and have done according to all that thou hast commanded me. Look down from my holy habitation from heaven, and bless thy people Yasharallah, in the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that flows with milk and honey. This day Yahweh the Elohim hath commanded thee to do these statutes and judgments, and thou shalt therefore keep and do them with all thine heart and with all thy soul. Thou hast avouched Yahweh this day to be thy Elohim, and to walk in his ways, and to keep his statutes.
So we're expected to obey his commandments, not to try to follow, make our own commandments, and push Yahweh's commandments to the side, and not to try to follow other gods and other religions. We have to follow the Torah, the Tavo. You can do anything you want in life. Have any kind of fun you want. You know, as long as it doesn't violate the Torah. Just remember that. It's not about you trying to restrict yourself to another religion, another culture, you know, or not having a religion and saying you don't believe in the Most High. Right, go ahead.
His commandments and his judgments, and hearken unto his voice. And Yahweh hath avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people, as he has promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments, and to make thee high above all nations which he hath made, in praise and in name and in honor, and that thou mayst be an holy people unto Yahweh the Elohim, as he hath spoken. Kal Shrad Bar Yahweh,
Kal Shrad Bar Yahweh,
Na Yahshua Na Shemai,
Na Yahshua Na Shemai.
all that Yahweh said,
All that Yahweh said,
what we doing here.
what we doing here. So Yahweh has showed us that he's going to put us above all the other nations, over top of the other nations, right? So he's given us above, over all Goyim, all nations, is what it says. All right, so we have to understand and remember that this is not, you know, a thing about being equal. I mean, if you have somebody that comes into your land, they can live among you, they can keep your commandments, they can keep your laws, but you still have certain rights as a citizen, as a natural born citizen, or as an Israelite born outside of that land, that Gentile doesn't have. You're the rulers and the kings and the priests. The Gentiles are not. We want all people to obey the commandments of Yahweh, which is the supreme law of the planet Earth. It will be enforced across the whole planet Earth. And there's no major hardcore restrictions. Yahweh just says, don't dress this way, dress this way. There's no laws in Yahweh's commandments about a woman can't drive a horse or an ox, or she can't drive a car, or she can't turn on the light switch, or she can't do no work, or she can't go to the farm, and she can't buy land. When you read the Bible is probably one of the most progressive books in terms of religion and women. Women was not restricted. They were not restricted in Israelite society. They could get out there and do what needed to be done, okay, for themselves and for their family. I mean, Proverbs chapter 31 is only a small picture of women and how they operate in Israel. So with that nationality as an Israelite woman, you understand, Yahweh gave them power and authority over the other nations. Okay? All right, go ahead. Did you say Kalashara? Okay. Chapter 27, verse 1 through 10. All right, chapter 27, verse 1 through 10, and then we might just have you do what I say first, 1 through 10, and then we might have you do, let's see where 6 stops. One through 10, and well, we'll see when we get there. But go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 1. And Mashah with the elders of Yasha'Allah commanded the people, saying,
So the elders are one of the top levels of government for the people. The elders were supposed to be over the judges and the officers, which meant that the elders had to know the Torah, the commandments, the statutes and the laws, the cultures and the custom of the Israelites and the other nations that they lived in, that they came from. They had to know these things better than the judges and the officers. And remember, some of the judges and the officers were actually elders. So the elders were with Mashah right under him when it came to the leadership. Okay? Now remember, Moses set up 70 elders from all the 12 tribes of Israel. And these 70 elders would deliberate and talk about problems and situations and guidance for the people. And Moses would stand with them in decisions that he needed to make, all right? And they would all deliberate together, or Moses would tell them, hey, this is what's gonna be done. But the point we're making is that the elders of Yasha'Allah were there, and we've always been a part of the Israelite process of government. But it was active. It wasn't an elder because you were born in, because remember, being an elder back then wasn't about you being in no truth or nothing. It was about how well you understood working for the people and on behalf of the people. Actually working, making decisions, and gathering resources and having discussions and talks and policies that were for the benefit that the people could use and they could become better. Anybody understand what I'm saying? They they would do these things better. Stop.
Keep all the commandments which I command you this day. And it shall be on the day when ye shall pass over Jordan unto the land which Yahweh the Elohai giveth thee, that thou shalt set thee up great stones and plaster them with plaster. And thou shalt write upon them all the words of this law when thou art passed over, that thou mayest go in unto the land which Yahweh the Elohai giveth you, a land that floweth with milk and honey, as Yahweh Elohai of thy fathers hath promised thee. Therefore it shall be, when ye be gone over Jordan, that ye shall set up these stones, which I command you this day, in Mount Ebal.
So, in case you didn't know, the country of Jordan is part of our territory, part of Israel. Okay? When you cross over Jordan, so it says Wahaya by Ibadkam, when you all cross over, by Ibadkam. So that's the same word, Ibad, is the same word for Abraham being called a Hebrew, all right? But that's just the root word, it's a generic word that means crossed over. But remember, it comes from our father, Ibad. It had nothing to do with crossing the Jordan or Euphrates River, because many people crossed the Jordan and Euphrates rivers. But many people couldn't call themselves Ibadiyah, which means the descendants of Ibadiyah, or Eber. So our father, Ibadiyah or Eber, is the reason we call ourselves Hebrews. Hebrews. So we went from Ibadiyah to Eberiah to Heberiah or Heber, and from Heberiah or Heber it went into and Hebrew. So that's how we got the name Hebrew. Go ahead.
Therefore it shall be, and there shalt thou build an altar unto Yahweh the Elohim, an altar of stones. Thou shalt not lift up any iron tool upon them. Thou shalt build the altar of Yahweh the Elohim of whole stones, and thou shalt offer burnt offerings thereon unto Yahweh the Elohim. And thou shalt offer peace offerings, and shalt eat them, and rejoice before Yahweh the Elohim. And thou shalt write upon the stones all the words of this law very plainly.
So the book of all the commandments were written on big stones. So when you came into the borders of Israel, Yasharallah, you had to know what these laws were. So once you crossed into that land, there wasn't a lot of room for mercy when you broke the laws that were written on those stones. Everybody understand that? So they had the laws written on stone when you came into the country. So it wasn't a whole bunch of laws. It was basically these laws and these categories. And then they probably would have signs posted up also, different things you can't do. You know, like signs about the Sabbath day, keeping the Sabbath day holy. All right, go ahead.
And Moshe and the priests, the Levites, spake unto all Yasha'Allah, saying.
So now remember you have Moses and then the elders. So now with Moses and the elders, now you have the priests coming in with Moses and the elders also. So now Moses and the priests, the Levites, from the family of Levi and from the family of Aaron, those were the priests. Everybody wasn't the priest. Only the family of Aaron were the priests. Now you may have men that did, things like a priest, or kakahan, things that were done as a priest, but Moses is talking to the Kahanim of the Levites. Go ahead.
And Moshe and the priests of the Levites spake unto all Yasha'Allah, saying, Take heed and hearken, O Yasha'Allah, this day thou art become the people of Yahweh the Elohim. Thou shalt therefore obey the voice of Yahweh the Elohim, and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
All right, so listen to his commandments, do what he told us to do. All right, start reading from verse 11.
And Moshe charged the people the same day, saying, These shall stand upon Mount Gerizim to bless the people when ye are come over Jordan. Simeon and Levi and Judah and Issachar.
All right, but break down what you read real quick.
And Joseph and Benjamin. And these shall stand upon Mount Ebal to curse Reuben, Gad, Asher, and Zebulun, Dan, and Naphtali with a loud voice. Cursed be the man that maketh any graven or molten image, an abomination unto Yahweh, the work of the hands of the craftsman, and putteth it in a secret place, and all the people shall answer and say, Amen. So any or put in a secret place is cursed. In verse 16, Cursed be he that setteth light by his father or his mother, and all the people shall say, Amen. Cursed be he that removeth his neighbor's landmark, and all the people shall say, Amen.
So in verse 16, when it says set light by your mother or father, that means to do something that's like embarrassing to them. Specifically, dealing with nakedness, but in general, the concept is not to do things that's going to shame or embarrass your parents in a way that's hard to recover from. And that's why we have the law that if you hit your mother or your father, the solution was to kill you. So you couldn't have these types of negative, evil thoughts in your brain. 17, cursed be he that removes his neighbor's landmark, and all the people should say, Amen. All right, the whole United States government, the whole European governments, even in parts of Africa, they removed the landmarks of the ancient tribes that were there. But we're dealing with Babylon and what they've done, because the world is the way it is because of Babylon, because of so-called European imperialism. Not because of Africa or China or Japan or the Arabs, but because of European imperialism. Now with slavery, the so-called white man, he learned all of his slave tricks from the Arabs, from the Muslims. They taught him about slavery because they were the first ones to have us in slavery. And they were the first ones to put us in captivity and slavery on a whole scale, okay? After that, the next major player after them was the Europeans, which learned the cruelties of slavery from the Arabs, okay? And then they put us in captivity. So when they brought us into captivity in North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, we had our family members of different tribes that were already there. So the so-called European, the Edomites that the Bible talks of, they took the land. They took the land, they removed the landmarks, and they kept making decisions. They kept making deals. Hey, we're gonna take, they kept making deals, and ultimately, they ended up just stealing the land. And that's how you have America set up, because they stole the land of the children of Israel that came into the Americas as refugees from slavery, from the Assyrian captivity. All right? All right, go ahead.
Cursed be he that maketh the blind to wander out of the way, and all the people shall say, Amen.
So if somebody doesn't know the truth, and you cause them to do something that's wrong, you're cursed. In other words, you know you're not supposed to work on the Sabbath, but you're gonna try to have somebody that worships on Sunday wrong keep this work for you on the Sabbath to keep your store open. Well, you just brought a curse upon yourself. So all of these things you do, you're cursed. The evil, you're cursed. Okay? You can't remove those landmarks. So then it says that you can't cause a blind person to go outside the way. So if somebody has a physical handicap where they can't see good, and you lead them in a way that's gonna make them fall, or you lead them in a way that makes them go off the path that they need to be walking on, well, that you bring a curse upon yourself. So you have to always guide people in the right way and make sure that you got in the right way. If it was a blind person trying to cross the street and he kept pulling your arm and pulling away from you, pulling your arm off of his, would you let him go? Even if he was fighting you, you'd make sure he crossed the street. So even if somebody is fighting you, once you let them know, hey, let's get you to the other side, and if they go back, then that's on them. What does that mean? That means you have to the path that they're supposed to be walking on. You have to guide them through a place of safety. And if they decide to go back, the blood is off of your hands, as we see in the book of Ezekiel, all right? The blood is off of your hands. Blood is on your hands if you cause that person to go the wrong way and you don't help them go the right way, all right? And their soul is injured and hurt. The blood is on your hands. But if you say, no, we're not supposed to observe and celebrate Christmas, that's pagan. That's idolatry. Has nothing to do with the Messiah or the Israelites, has everything to do with Nimrod and Babylon. And that person says, well, I don't care. You've shown a blind person the path that they're supposed to walk in. So you've done your job. But if the person says, hey, I'm going to, a Christmas party. I'm going to a Halloween party. I'm going to the January 1st New Year's party. I'm going to a Dia de los Muertos party. And you say, okay, well, bring me something back, or Okay, see you later. You've caused that blind person to what? What does it say? It said you make the blind person to go astray in the way. So you've made that person that can't see the truth to stay blind because you haven't told them anything. So you're supposed to tell them. If they don't listen, it's not your fault. But don't bite your tongue. All right, go ahead.
Cursed be he that perverteth the judgment of the stranger, fatherless, and widow, and all the people shall say, Amen.
Amen. Perverteth the way of those that are less fortunate and that don't have as much spiritual authority in Israel. Oh, he don't have a father. His father has died. His father has died. There's nobody to help him. We can take advantage of him. We can take his land. We can take his inheritance. And this is a situation going on in Columbus right now. You have people that are not looking out for the best interest of a little boy whose father died. The little boy can't speak for himself. He has a mother, but the mother doesn't know the Torah and the laws of inheritance and things of that nature. But is anybody stepping into the situation to say, hey, look, this little boy needs to get whatever his father left behind? That's the end of the discussion. No. So what's the Most High say? You are cursed. So if you're doing this, man, you can expect the curse to come upon you. So it say, cursed be he that perverts the what? The justice. Okay? The justice. All right? Or the judgments. All right? The stranger, the widows, the fatherless. All right? So pervert means you twisting. You twisting it. Okay? The judgment. Okay? So you're twisting the righteous judgment. Meaning what? You're not making sure that it's straight. You're not making sure that it's straight. Because if you're supposed to be driving the bus, and then you have somebody else to drive the bus, but you know that the bus needs gas, and the person that's driving the bus doesn't know about the bus and the gas and how to look for these things. Well, if you say, I'm gonna go in the back and I'm gonna go to sleep, and the person driving rides past all types of gas stations, because you're asleep and you don't want to make sure that the bus gets the gas. Well, the bus runs out of gas, it may be directly the fault of the person driving, but who's supposed to make sure that the bus had gas? You are. So that's how we see perverting the justice. Doesn't always mean that you're going in making a decision that's wrong, but sometimes you sit back and do nothing. So you're perverting the justice of the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. And again, let's reiterate the fact that the Most High set up judges and officers in these situations. And when you don't want to follow the orders of these judges, officers, and more so of these elders that are giving you judicial commandments of what needs to be done pertaining to the officers and pertaining to the widows and the fatherless, then you're bringing a curse upon yourself, man. And we don't want curses to come upon us, do we? That means that you're putting stuff out there where Yahweh has told the angels, Yahweh has told the Holy Spirit, Yahweh has told nature itself to come after you if you do certain things. Why? Because these things are just so terrible in his eyes that he has said that we have to make sure that curses come upon people if they do these things right here. And you cannot you cannot hide from it. So he said if that person is not being righteous toward the little boy whose father has died, the Most High is going to get you. Go ahead.
Cursed be he that lieth with his father's wife, because he uncovereth his father's skirt.
So you try to lay with your father's wife, like Reuben did. Reuben lay with his father's woman. All right, Reuben lay with his father's mother. And when he laid with her, that was a wicked thing that he did. And the Most High is telling us not to do that. Now, why is the Most High telling us not to do this? Why does that apply now? Well, when you go into certain parts of, of Africa, I don't know about China, I know about Africa, but when you go into certain parts of Africa, they still, the father still deals with his son's woman, and the son still strives to deal with the father's wife. Okay, and the father's wife means that it could be the second wife or the first wife. It doesn't have to be the son's mother, but just any wife of the father you're not supposed to deal with. Uncover the father's nakedness. You're uncovering it because that woman belongs to him. All right, go ahead. So you're cursed if you do these things. Go ahead.
Cursed be he that lieth with any manner of beast, and all the people shall say, Amen.
Go ahead.
Cursed be he that lieth with his sister, the daughter of his father, or the daughter of his mother.
So it says the daughter of his father or the daughter of his mother. It doesn't matter. You cannot have any type of intimacies, sexual contact, feelings, relationship, or marriages with your sister. Period. When you look at ancient European culture, Edomite culture in Rome, they would marry, the sons and daughters would marry. When you look at the movie Gladiator, the guy wanted to marry and have a baby with his sister. When you look at the show Game of Thrones, all right, Jamie had three children, right? This dude had 3 children with his sister. And all of them died young. He had 3 children with his sister. When you look at ancient Greek culture, they would marry the sister also to produce the heirs to the throne. So this is something that was done and is done even to this day by different cultures around the world, which Yahweh is showing us he doesn't want us to practice these things. Even Yahweh says that we're going to show you something also. Keep reading.
Cursed be he that lieth with his mother-in-law.
Cursed be the liar with his mother-in-law. Go ahead.
And all the people shall say, Amen.
Now, what is this going to? When you look at Zaynab, everybody know who Zaynab is? When you look at Zaynab in Islam history, all these women got the name. We know like 2 women, at least 3, named Zaynab. Zaynab was a girl, and she was married to a boy that Muhammad adopted as his own legal son. Some kind of way, that woman ended up as Muhammad's wife. If my son dies, can I take his wife to be my wife? No, I cannot. So can Muhammad take his son's wife to be his wife? According to Torah. Now, what's the point of saying, well, you my adopted son, but you're not really my son. The rules of being my son don't really apply. Meaning what? You don't have the same rights and protection as a son, which means that adoption means nothing. Now, when you go into Islam, when you go into Surah number 33, Surah number 33, which means chapter 33, and you go into verse 37, and you read that section, right around the time that Muhammad was trying to, take, what? No, not that one. Right at the water though. Book of toilet paper. This is the book of toilet paper, also known as the Quran. All right, so I'm gonna just read y'all something real quick. And you don't really see Moses doing any of these things. Okay? So I'm gonna go into Surah chapter 33. And this is what Muhammad claimed Allah revealed to him when he was trying to take his son's wife. Now, if you my daughter, and I introduce you to people, do you want to be constantly reminded, oh, this is my adopted daughter, this is my adopted daughter, this is my adopted daughter? Or you want to hear, this is my daughter, this is my daughter, this is my daughter? Which one's going to make you feel more part of the family and more one with the family, more love? My daughter, right? Okay. So now this is what Muhammad said. Now, right around the time when he was like trying to figure out how to take this woman, this is what he said. This is what God said to him. And when thou saidest unto him, on whom Allah had conferred favor, and thou hast conferred favor, keep thy wife to thyself and fear Allah. And thou didst hide in thy mind that which Allah was to bring to light. And thou didst fear mankind, whereas Allah had a better right than that thou shouldest fear him. So when Zayd had performed the necessary formality of divorce from her, we gave her unto you in marriage. So this filthy, dirty, wicked Arab told his son-in-law, divorce your wife because Allah wants me to have her. How would you like to serve that God? Man, how would you like for Muhammad to be your teacher? Hide your wives, hide your kids. Here come Muhammad. Hey man, your wife looking mighty fine. God says she needs to be for me. God said we must divorce your wife and you must give her to me. This is the will of Allah. See, I don't read this book because I believe in it. This is toilet paper. I don't believe this book because it's true. I believe it because you need to be able to offset the lies. All right? I don't read, not believe. I believe that they wrote what they wrote, but I don't believe these words are true. So I don't believe the words on this page because they are true or because it's righteous, but because that's what they believe. And I'm saying, okay, I don't read this to, let me get more insight. Let me get more understanding. I read it because it's a lot of lies out there that people try to talk and believe, and there's a lot of hidden stuff in between the lines. So he had to legitimize breaking the Torah. Now, can anybody else do that? Can anybody else go out and divorce and have their son-in-law divorce their woman? Can anybody else go out and have their son-in-law divorce their wife so that you can marry that woman? Who else can do that? Let's keep reading. We gave her unto thee in marriage so that henceforth there will be no sin for believers in respect of wives of their adopted sons, when the latter has performed the necessary formality of release from them, the commandment of Allah must be fulfilled. They said, well, this is going to be okay for Muhammad. Everybody can marry their son-in-law's daughters now. You see that? Everybody understand that? Now, people don't understand the fact that, let's say for some reason, your wife is, you or your wife don't like the other one, they got some type of condition or whatever. 90 days you away from them, the divorce is finalized. Just 90 days. So if they go in South Africa or in Congo or in Mali, they go visit their family. I want to be divorcing you, and they stay away from you for 90 days, you divorced. Now somebody else can come and be like, okay, this is gonna be my husband or my wife now, and you can't do nothing about it. So now this is what he finished off. There is no reproach for the prophet in that which Allah maketh his due. So Allah wanted Muhammad to marry his daughter-in-law. His daughter-in-law. Okay? That was Allah's way with those who passed away of old. No, it wasn't. Nobody in the ancient world from our history married their daughter-in-law. Now you say the way of old, maybe what did he want it to be done like that from the days of old? And the commandment of Allah is certain destiny. You see that? So that's what you have to deal with, man. So here in our book, we're being told this whole in-law stuff don't work, don't do it. And then the Quran comes and says, now mind you, this is approximately 1446. This is approximately about 1360 AD. 80 years after we left the wilderness, right? We was in the wilderness for 40 years, right? All right, so this is approximately 1400 BC. Muhammad was born about 569, 570 AD. And I think he started teaching until he was like 40 years old. All right, so that's like 610, something like that. So 610 plus 16 plus 1400 is what? 1,400 plus 600 is what? 2,000. So 2,000. So we got Moses saying don't do X, Y, Z. And 2,000 years later, Muhammad's like, psych, Allah changed his mind. You can't marry your in-laws. That sounds like a bipolar God right there. That sounds like a God that's not really, that sounds like man trying to satisfy what he wants. And the Quran is just full of all sorts of contradictions like that against the Torah. But you have to understand the Torah and read it. Or at least understand the strength of the Bible first. Okay? So you can't marry your mother-in-law. So if your mother-in-law looking good, and she said, "Oh man, the apple don't fall far from the tree." If the fruit of the apple is good, then man, the daughter fell from the tree of her mother. I want the mother now. So Yahweh said you can't do that. Go ahead. Now where's that at again? Excuse me. That's Surah 33, verse 37 inside the Quran. Go ahead.
Verse 24. Cursed be he that smiteth his neighbor secretly, and all the people shall say Amen.
So smite him, which means murder. Okay? Which means murder your neighbor. Now, we didn't go around other nations murdering them. Other nations did that to try to invade us. Arab tribes tried to do it to us. The Turks did it to us. The Syrians did it to us. The Africans did it to us. So the Most High say you bring a curse upon yourself when you murder people. Go ahead.
Cursed be he that taketh reward to slay an innocent person.
Mm-hmm. There's a hitman killing people that's not wrong. Go ahead.
And all the people shall say Amen.
So you said, I don't know about that. Let's go kill the Jews. Let's go kill the Israelites. Let's put them in chains. Let's put them in captivities. Even though we broke Yahweh's commandments, the people that were doing wrong to us broke the commandments too. And they didn't do what Yahweh said to do. So a curse comes upon them. Go ahead.
Cursed be he that confirmeth not all the words of this law to do them, and all the people shall say Amen.
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 So if you got a problem with these words, then Yahweh is saying that you're cursed. All right? Go ahead.
Kal Shirad Bar Yahweh.
Kal Shirad Bar Yahweh.
Nai Shawa Nashemai.
Nai Shawa Nashemai.
All the Yahweh said.
All they have said.
What we doing here?
What we doing here. All right, now we go into the blessings of the children of Israel. All right? So you just read number 5, right? Si termina 6 en el versículo 6, y puede terminar en el versículo 6 del próximo capítulo. Ok, sigue.
To observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahweh the Elohai will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee, and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh the Elohai.
Now, by the way, real quick, there's a note in here that tells us that the Persians, which would be the Shiites to the Shiite Muslims, it's a specific note that says that the Persians married their nearest blood relatives. Thus, Cambyses, a ruler of Persia, had 2 of his sisters in his harem. Everybody know what that means? That means he has 2 of his sisters as, I thought you had the other book open. He had 2 of his sisters as his wives. All right, so the Most High is very big on proper sexuality. You can't just run around doing what you want to do the way that you think it needs to be done. All right? You can't just be marrying whoever you think you fall in love with. Oh, it's my sister and I love her. And I want to marry my sister. No, you don't. If you do, you got some wickedness in you. So you need to check yourself, man. You need to check yourself from all of that wickedness that you're doing or thinking and feeling, in your heart, man. So it says you can't do these things. So now Yahweh is saying, listen, if you keep my commandments, these are things going to happen to you. All right, go ahead.
Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shalt thou be of the fruit. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground.
So the field represents the the rural areas, the countryside, and the city represents the urban areas, the tight living space areas. So wherever you go, you're going to be blessed. Okay? And also you find these different things in the whole world. You find these conditions in the whole world. So wherever you go in the world, you're going to be blessed. Okay, go ahead.
And the fruit of thy cattle, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep.
All your animals are going to be blessed, and your children. Go ahead.
Blessed shall be the basket of thy store.
So your basket, your kneading trough, where you're doing all your work out for your food and your grain and your bread, your tortillas, your masas, your arepas, your salbutes, all that's going to be blessed. Your quesadillas, the harina de trigo. Go ahead.
Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest
When
out.
you come into the world, and when you leave the world, you're going to be blessed. All right, keep reading that. That's the end of 6. I would like to read this to 14, which is where the blessings continue. All right, go ahead. Continue on 2. So the blessing continue on to verse 14. All right, go ahead.
Yahweh shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee 1 way and flee before thee 7 ways. And
So military superiority. Go ahead.
Yahweh shall command the blessing upon thee in thy storehouses and in all that thou settest thine hand unto. And he shall bless thee in the land which Yahweh Elohai giveth thee. Yahweh shall establish thee an holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee.
Meaning set apart and looked up to and spiritually sound. Go ahead.
If thou shalt keep the commandments of Yahweh Elohai and walk in his ways. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahweh,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall be afraid of thee.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Yahweh sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Yahweh shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thine hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow.
So we have economic superiority, agricultural superiority. We got military superiority. So the Most High is going to make us strong in all these different areas. But what he's done with the Gentiles all have a piece of this. There's not one nation that has all of this, is there? Nuclear weapons. Oh, but they control the whole technology? No, most of the technology is outsourced to India. India is doing a lot of technological advances. Or the agriculture, well, I believe Russia produces far more grain than America produces. And that's what's gonna come down to when you're really starving. You ain't gonna be wanting no beans and chicken and cucumbers and you're gonna be, man, just give me some bread and water, I'm cool. Because that can sustain you. Especially if it's a whole grain, right? If it's a whole grain, it can sustain you for a while. It can bulk you up. You can do so many things with it. You can get the gluten from it. You know, you can make the drinks with it. It'll bulk you up, especially if it's a whole grain or a dry complex carbohydrate like yuca or something. You can, maintain yourself for a while with that. When Daniel was in jail, I think it was Daniel or Jeremiah, they gave him bread and water. I think it was nice when I went to bed on bread and water for being bad and just for getting in trouble or whatever. So these are all of the positions that we're gonna hold. See, but everybody's trying to hold these positions. See, America wants them positions. China wants them positions. The Catholic Church, they don't want the position. They can just pull some strings behind the scene and they good with the money. But Islam, ISIS, all right, the Islamic State, the Shiites, the Sunni, they know that at some point there's gonna be a showdown. Amaria, there's gonna be a showdown. Was it a percentage? The light already down, right? The light wasn't all the way down? So the U.S. has superiority in all of these things. Okay. All right, go ahead.
And Yahweh shall make thee the head and not the tail.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt be only above, and thou shalt not be beneath.
A head and not the tail. Get the one from the stand beside the Alao de la Cama, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
If that thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh thy Elohim, which I command thee this day to observe and do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them.
So don't go after other gods to serve them. Because many gods are going to come up for you to try to worship, that are going to try to appease you, appease your desires, appeal to your senses. The Most High saying don't go after them. Don't follow them gods. Don't be tricked and deceived into following other gods. And it's so easy. Because the minute you say, oh, I'm going to do the crescent moon, you follow another god. Because the crescent moon was observed by the Babylonians in the ancient world as a god. All right, go ahead. No, that's cool. Next reading. Start with chapter 28, verse 15. Let's read 15 through 30. And go ahead.
But it shall come to pass if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So if you don't want to keep these commandments, these are the blessings and these are the curses. The Most High set both between us. And because our leadership didn't keep us together, Yahweh said these curses are going to come upon you now. So he said, and they're going to overtake you, meaning you're not going to be able to escape these curses. There's too much foot traffic going back and forth. It needs to be reduced. Go ahead.
Cursed shalt thou be when
You're going to be cursed. If you're in the field, the rural areas, you were cursed. Now you come from these conditions of the curses once you repent and you come back to Yahweh and you pray and you fast, he can start to lift some of these curses from off of our people. So these conditions are conditions that are upon a specific people, no matter what part of the world you may find them. Whether it's India, Pakistan, man, shoot, in India, seems like everybody's an Israelite a lot of times because people over there is suffering. But people suffer all around the world, though. But it's what type of suffering people are putting upon you, and what way are you suffering? Go ahead.
Cursed shalt thou eat, cursed shall be thy basket and thy store.
Go ahead.
Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body.
Which means your children are going to be cursed. Don't want to listen. Don't want to obey. Going to leave your family. Seek after other gods. They're going to turn to homosexuality. Turn to idolatry. Your children are going to turn to their backs on the mothers and fathers so that they can get money, so they can get position in the Roman society and Greek society. These are things that were actually done. All right, go ahead.
And the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kine, and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out.
Man, you cursed all around, no matter what you do or where you go. Go ahead.
Yahweh, yoke and all be destroyed. And
Because our people, the children of Israel, they can't really come together and dominate any area in the whole world. Other nations can. All right, it's going to be curses that's going to follow you. That's why all these nations are known for something. And the leadership of our people can help bring us out of these curses if their mind is focused on what needs to be done in the spiritual first to impact the physical. And that's only through chakma. It's only through wisdom can you make any of these changes possible. Because chakma is the only thing, wisdom, kokma is the only thing that can change the spiritual world that we live in and the physical world that we live in all together. So you can bring, the leadership can say, you know what, let's get together as leaders, let's go into kokma, chakma, wisdom, and let's approach Yahweh. And let's give these reasons why we're walking in his commandments, his laws. We're walking in the laws of kokma, chakma, wisdom also. So once you walk in these commandments and you walk in the laws of chakma, kokma, then the people can come to you and get healed. Then the people can come to you and the infertility is gone. Then the people can come to you and the drug addiction, the cigarette addiction, the cocaine addiction, the weed addiction, the alcohol addiction is gone. And then the eating problems, the sicknesses, the astigmatisms is gone. Only through kokma chakma, wisdom. So this is the solution to free ourselves from the curses. The problem is, you Israelites have been focusing on telling other people that they're Israelites and following your rules, but you haven't been focused on spiritual liberation. Like the Messiah was focused on spiritual liberation. And that can only be achieved through Chokmah, Kokmah. But because you haven't put her chains on you, she's letting the Gentiles keep their chains on you because you can't serve two masters. See, you can keep the Torah and still be in captivity. The prophet was walking in Kokmah, Chokmah, and Chokmah kept their mouths fed and kept the animals' mouths closed that wanted to eat them. All right. So the scripture says that all you put your hand to is going to be cursed. Understand that there's a flip side of that. And that flip side can operate for as many people as join themselves unto the body of Yasharallah, under the proper spiritual leadership of Yasharallah, which we don't really have right now, sad to say. We don't have the type of leadership that's going to say, let's fast and let's pray for the people to be able to improve in this area. We assume that, but we don't know that. And if he is with us, and we do know he's with us, we know that there's a level that we can go to that we haven't gone to yet. And our spirit knows that. Our spirit yearns to go there, but we don't have the proper leadership that can say, this is the direction we need to go, and this is how we need to go there. Even in this truth, the Israelite leadership still have a crabs in the barrel mentality. If you know what that means, raise your hand. Because the crabs are trying to get out of the barrel, but as he's trying to get out of the barrel, what's happening? The other crabs are bringing him down, trying to climb over him. What should they do? They should stack up. And as they stack up, the one at the bottom, let him climb over all of us. The one second to the bottom, let him climb up over all of us. Everybody wins. And as he climbs up, he helped the people, to get even stronger. So that eventually, they're like this. You have 3 over here, 3 over there, and then one at the bottom just cling on to us. And as we pull them up one by one. And it's like a half circle. Or you just keep it as one chain. Everybody pulling that man up and that man up. So crabs in the barrel do not do that naturally because they want to get out of the barrel. Okay? Now you may have other species that would operate like that to help each other get out. But the crabs ain't one of them. Monkeys probably would help each other do something like that. Lab rats might even help each other do something like that. But crabs, they just want to pull each other down. So that's the reason we can't really get to the spiritual level we need to get to, because we don't have the proper leadership and guidance that Moses set up in order to do that. One of the main prerequisites to be a leadership in the time of Masha and in the time of ancient Israel was that you had to understand the laws, be dedicated to Yahweh, and then you had to be dedicated to Hamashiach, the concept of the Mashiach. And when Mashiach came, now you have to be dedicated to him. So you got the Torah through Yahweh, from Yahweh, and obeying Yahweh, loving Yahweh, and you have Hamashiach, which was the messenger of Yahweh, the prophet that Yahweh sent, the son of David. All right? So you will perish quickly from what you put your hand to do, but there's relief in obedience. All right, verse 21.
Yahweh shall make the pestilence cleave and goes to possess it, and Yahweh shall smite thee with the consumption.
Consumption like what? Diabetes, cancer. Consumption means what? That these things consume your body. These things consume you. Literally, they eat your flesh up. It's going to keep eating that flesh away, ain't it? You can just keep eating that flesh up. And you got to go to the doctor for the doctor to try to get it fixed. And until then, it's just stinky, rotting flesh, right? This stinky, rotting flesh. It's consuming you. And our people lead the world in diabetes. The highest diabetes rate in the world is the so-called Native Americans, which are the tribe of Gad. Diabetes, hypertension, high blood pressure, glaucoma. These are all diseases, heart attacks. These are all diseases that we lead in. Go ahead.
And with a fever, and with inflammation.
So things swelling up, you know. Now, I'm not trying to be funny, but you know, we have a very high obesity rate amongst our people. Maybe not as big as the Pacific. So you got typhoid fever, you got malaria, all right? You got a wasting away fever and disease, all right? Go ahead.
And with an extreme burning,
erysipelas, irritation, fiery heat, burning. Our people lead in STDs also. Because they say when you have an STD, it feel like you burning, feel like your personal private parts are like somebody put a fire to you. That's what they say. I've heard people say the phrase like you urinating razor blades because it cuts and hurts and burns even when you pee. So these are the things that our people were cursed with, but other people have these things also. But we lead in these diseases, these conditions. When I say lead, I mean statistically speaking. Go ahead.
and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew.
So you wonder why. You said with the sword. What verse is that? 20? Okay, karab. Okay, they got another word in English. So the karab. All right. Which means that what we murder each other, and then the police murder us also. Now you may say, well, what about the black people that murder each other? They murder each other more than police. Okay, but the black people that murder each other are doing so out of economic crimes of, maybe not even crimes of passion, just economic crimes or social crimes. You made me mad. I don't get no justice, so I'm gonna murder you. Or you on the block, you know, where I'm supposed to be setting up, I'm gonna murder you. Or you wanna disrespect me and talk against me, I'm gonna murder you. Or you wanna come into my territory without respecting you, giving me the respect you're supposed to give my set, my gang, I'm gonna murder you, we gonna murder you. So that's the type of crime that Israelites commit against each other, which is a very high number of crimes. But we don't want to see the destruction of our families, of our aunts, of our uncles, of our fellow gang members, of our fellow church members. That's not why we're killing. We're killing in the sense of one people's education. And if we had the proper understanding of why these things are happening to us and how they're actually hurting us and our great-great-great-grandchildren without us even knowing them, we would stop it. So yeah, you might have us murdering each other worse. But now, what's it on now? Drop down to 5. But now, the problem, is it working right? But now, right? It's still on? I'll try another chord. But now, the problem that we encounter is what? The whole system of the American structure that murders our people gives us the tools. What did we read earlier? Cursed be he that causes the blind to go out of the way, right? So they provide us with the guns, they provide us with the drugs, and they provide us with the abortion clinics, and then they say, look at these niggas and spicks and savages killing themselves. Well, take away the guns, take away the drugs, take away the abortion clinics. And instead of guns, give us land and seeds. Instead of drugs, give us resources to deal with the problems that we have. And instead of abortion clinics, educate us properly on the biblical structure of family. They don't want to do that. So at the end of the day, even though you said, well, yeah, these black people are killing themselves and murdering themselves, how are they doing that? And who's letting it happen? You mean to tell me you can send so many thousands and thousands of men to Afghanistan, to Iraq, to Haiti as peacekeeping forces, but you can't get your own backyard rectified? Does that make sense to you? You can't get your own backyard clean, but you got enough military power and intelligence to go all around the world, but you can't stop cocaine, methamphetamines, heroin, or heroin from coming into your country? And you want us to believe that? You want us to believe that giving us land and giving us resources that we worked for, that you told us we were going to get, would not help solve our problems? That's what you're trying to say. It's a game. Oh, get the niggas, the spicks, the savages, give them, put them on a reservation with no water. Let's steal part of their country. Let's put businesses in their land and pay them peanuts, and then let's not let them come into our country to work. Let's put them on reservations where they have no resources. Let's steal the oil that's on their land, and then let's blame them and look at them for being impoverished, in poverty. Oh, well, let's let them come into the countries and work into the cities and work in our factories. And then when the factories shut down and we replace them with white people and with automation, we'll say that they're just a bunch of lazy people. Because they're the cause of all their problems, not them. It was the Japanese fault that we put them in prison camps in World War II. That's why we gave them reparations. No, they ain't recognized for that. What the American government did to the Japanese by putting them in, the Japanese American citizens got put into prison camps during World War II because they thought that they were going to try to join with the Japanese. So they put them in prison camps in World War II. So now when it comes to the children of Israel, they have every excuse in the book. Well, we're not going to give the Indians nothing. We're not going to give the Latinos nothing. We're not going to give the blacks nothing. We got to pull yourself up by that bootstrap. I wonder if white people would be saying that if they're the ones that came to America in slavery and cargo slave ships, and it was black people, Latino, Native American people that was controlling the economy and the political system, the educational system in America. Shoes on the other foot. You see, but what you gotta understand too, when they came with help from that family to get ahead, they had a base that they were operating off of, and even now they can pick up and say, "I'm going back to Ireland. I'm going back to Poland. I'm going back to Iran. I'm going back to Saudi Arabia. I'm going back to Jordan. I'm going back to Palestine." Everybody can get up and go somewhere, and get resources and support ethnically from where they came from, except for us. Except for us. There's no other nation trying to help us. And that's the reality of Lamentations chapter 4. For our vain help, we look to a nation that could not help us, that could not save us. So when we talking about us murdering each other, we didn't teach ourselves to murder each other. We didn't teach ourselves to murder our own babies. We didn't teach ourselves to manufacture guns. And of course, COINTELPRO had nothing to do with it. When you have the top scientists, the top economic strategists, the top military analysts that the U.S. government has to offer, trying to figure out a plan on how to keep Latino, Black, and Native American people from rising up together. And the plan is working. So yeah, Israelite, Black, Latino, Native American people may be murdering each other and killing each other, but it's not because they hate themselves and their families and their people. It's because of the situation that they cannot get out of. And because of the lack of love and respect they have for a person that they have. It's a simple case of having the proper tools for conflict resolution. Because if you set up a system in America where you said, if you do X, Y, Z, this is going to be the penalty, a lot of that stuff will be changed. Everybody says, look at these things. You know? So the conditions that we're under are not conditions that we created. Nor are they conditions that we can really change. What kind of collective voice do we have amongst each other? They have the Congressional Black Caucus, which is integrated into the American political system, which is looking out for the benefit of America. But what's good for America may not always be good for your people. Now, if you want to erase your people, get yourself a white husband, like Candace Owen did. Get yourself a white husband, and racism doesn't exist in America anymore. That's fine for you. You may say it don't exist, but I say it does exist. You're free to believe it don't exist if that's what you want to believe. But I believe it does exist, and I know why it exists, and I know how to change it. And changing it is not dependent on me kissing the white man's booty in North Central South America. And exile is only one way to get out, and that's returning to the Tavo. And the prophecies written inside the Tavo about Hamashiach. That's the only way to free ourselves from this bondage and this captivity that we've been put into. No other escape. We're looking for any other way to escape. I continue reading.
And they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
Call the verse, people know where you're at.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 23.
We just read 22, but we're on 23 now.
And thy heaven that is over.
Oh, that mildew is also going into different sicknesses and diseases. Okay?
That is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
So it's going to be hard for you to get higher, and it's going to be just a daily struggle walking on iron and trying to get through brass. Go ahead.
And Yahweh shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust from heaven.
So remember with our people out there getting dust storms and dust bowls or whatever? Go ahead.
Shall it come down upon thee until thou be destroyed?
So the dust is going to be watering your crops. Powder, not water. So stuff going to be falling from the sky of no benefit to your crops. Dust and powder. Did not we have a bunch of dust storms floating around where they put the Gadites at in Oklahoma and places, reservations and stuff? Go ahead.
And Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies.
So we are enemies amongst ourselves. So us killing each other is a prophecy. We have made ourselves our enemies, and that's why we're killing each other. The white man has made himself our enemy, so that's why he's killing us. But who has more access to our communities, us or the so-called white man? Huh? Who has more access to other people in your family and other people look like you? Who can go any? We do, man. He don't have. How does he have more access than we do? You can go in any so-called black neighborhood. Let me look how they dressing. Oh, they wearing blue. They wearing purple. They wearing red. They got their hair cut like this. They wearing these type of clothes. And then you can just go right into them. True or false? Can white people do that? No. Can you say, okay, look how these Chinese people dressing. Look how these Korean people dressing. Look how the Korean people cutting their hair. Look how they talking. I'm going to do that. I'm gonna go into Korea and I'm gonna infiltrate them. Nah, you can't infiltrate nothing. It'd be like, whatever the word is for black. You black. You brackaman, you black lady. Or no, you're an Israelite, but you know us. Not us, things like that to each other. But it's not systematically controlled from the top, following orders. It's spiritual. Why? Because the prophecy is that we will be smitten before our enemies. Did we not? Read the next part.
Thou shalt go out one way against them.
Looking boys in the hood, they rose up. And IQ says, there a problem here? And everybody was got all tense and disagreeable. Read.
And flee 7 ways.
But when the guy went to the trunk and got his gun out and was spraying his gun, everybody ran away. One guy with one gun, and you got 20 or 30 other guys that all have guns too. But they ran away. See, that's an example of this prophecy getting fulfilled. So we have to understand that Yahweh has made ourselves, and we have made ourselves our own enemies. And that's one of the reasons why we are murdering and killing each other, because we can better do it than anybody else. See, everybody wants to look at the American economic and political system as if it's God. You can save yourself and your people if you only vote, if you only say democracy, and you only say Republican or Democrat. And ain't nobody in this room that has seen any change in the advancement of their people, whether in Puerto Rico or Alabama, whether on the reservations or in the cities. Ain't nobody seen no wholesale improvement of the condition of their people since they were born. You've seen things get better for everybody, but not your people getting that advantage back that they had. You see, after slavery was over, you understand? We, Amaria, were the ones that were doing the building, that were paving the roads, that were setting up the fields, that knew about the agricultural processes. We were the builders. We were the ship makers. You understand? We were the fishermen. The white people wasn't really doing all of that type of stuff. The economic backbone of America was the children of Israel. So when slavery was over, we had to show them those skills because they didn't have them. We controlled these different things. We controlled the knowledge of it. And we worked with them. They paid us some peanuts and paid the white people more. Eventually, things started to develop and advance, and we started to fall off and lose their knowledge because things developed and changed, and they were in the position to know what was changing. You understand what I'm saying? So because they're in a position to know the change, that these things were changing, they controlled those industries and we got pushed to the side, and now we're back to just being the workers. But when slavery was first over, 1865, 1870, 1880, 1900s, we still had a lot of the skill sets that was necessary to maintain the country. But we became our own enemies by them pitting us against each other. COINTELPRO. All right? And again, what the so-called white man is doing is nothing. It's Yahweh that made these things happen. Because we turned against him. How can we turn against Yahweh and still think we're going to remain the strongest nation on the planet? He brought us all the way down. All right, read. We're going to finish up in a minute too.
Before them thou shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
So we will be a horror and we will be removed into all of the kingdoms of the earth as slaves. We were taken to these places as slaves, as workers. Go ahead.
And thy carcass shall be meat unto all the fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall free.
Hundreds of Gadites that froze to death because the white man allowed them to and put them there. See, the white man to do stuff and create problems and then say it's somebody else's fault. That's what he does. So you look up Bigfoot, you will see that they froze to death in the wilderness, and coming from in some snowy places. You can research and look it up. Just put Chief Bigfoot. All right. So they froze. You would be a slave in Brazil. You would die in the woods. They would leave you there, and they would keep on going. Leave your body there. And the beast, the jaguars, you understand, the wild boars, all the birds that hang around in the jungle, they would come and eat that flesh of that dead person. So these things happen. Go ahead.
Yahweh will smite thee with the botch of Egypt, and with the emeralds, and with the scab, and with the itch whereof thou canst not be healed.
So dismay, confusion of mind, incurable disease, blindness, mental blindness, boils, different sores in our bodies that can't be healed. Some of them can't be healed because we don't let them be healed. You know, like if you reaching for something, you say, I can't reach. But can you reach it? Is it possible to reach something you can't reach? Huh? It's possible, yes. So when they say you cannot be healed, do you want to be healed of it? Now, once you want to be healed of it, is there a way for you to be healed? No. Okay, well, you can't be healed of it. But there's always stuff in nature where you can be healed of it, including age. There's always a way to heal yourself of stuff from nature, but it's just a science. And these are diseases and conditions that are following us. And these have happened to our people in North, Central, South America, and the Caribbean, the indigenous people and the people that came as slaves. All these things happened to us and are still happening to us. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yahweh shall smite thee with madness and blindness.
Mental illness and cataracts, glaucoma, blindness, eye problems, ocular degeneration diseases, these things impact our people more than everybody else. That's how you know we are the children of Israel, that these things are prophesied about. Don't say Muslims. It don't say Baptist. It says Israelites. So above all, you are an Israelite, and that's what you have to follow, whether you like it or not. It's who you were created to be. Go ahead.
And astonishment of heart.
Confusion of mind, astonishment of heart diseases, coronary disease, heart attack, strokes. These are things that plague our people. Read.
And thou shalt grope at noonday,
Mm-hmm.
as the blind group.
It is bright to you. Clear as day. It's clear as day that us coming together as a people is the best way for us to move forward and to help each other, right? Isn't that clear? It's clear as day. It's clear as day that, for example, let's say you got a whole bunch of Israelites in this area right here that's following Yahweh. And you got 10 houses, right? And everybody still have their little cylinder. Wouldn't it be better to say, hey, let's just invest some money in some pipes, and let's get a great big cylinder like the size of this room, and let's just buy it wholesale for ourselves. Matter of fact, let's save up money and get our own propane business so we can have the propane for ourselves basically for free, and then we can also sell it to other people. Wouldn't that be the best way to do it? So why can't people do things like that? See, because they're living under the curse, but they think they're not. Economic problems that we have are based on curses. Check the percentage now. Are based on curses. It's not based on us being poor money managers that we can just solve by taking a couple of classes from somebody. All right? Because everything works for itself. In other words, does Coca-Cola have to advertise? Does Ford have to advertise? I mean, they do it and it gets results, but everybody knows who they are because they got together with a company and with people. But we refuse to do that. So groping in the noonday like a blind man means that the way is clear to you, but you're still trying to find it. Man, what is this? Manure. Okay, it's manure. Okay, now I need a manure. I need a manure. I need a manure. I need a manure. It's right here. It's right here. But you looking for like you blind, then when you find it, you don't use it, you say you need it. Everybody knows what Israelites need. But it's the leadership of our people that caused us to go astray. The leaders and the shepherds caused us to go astray. So when will the people take control of better decisions? When will the people take charge collectively of better decisions? When will those people come together that want to live a certain way in righteousness and disregard what everybody else is saying on the outside? Why? Because you're not committed to change. You still in your neighborhood, in your job, your house, your resource, our change. Everybody understand that? Okay. So we can't be groping at noonday. We have to know this is the way that Yahweh has said, walk ye in it. This is the way. But when everybody got their own way, it ain't gonna work. So many different organizations, and everybody says that they got the way that's right, but who is producing the results that's gonna help the nation? Is ISUPK? Is Mashara Yasha'Allah? Is IUIC? Is GOCC? Are they producing results that are going to and that are set up to help the entire nation? Is the question. Not just can they teach me the Bible? Because man should not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of Yahweh. So you can't just live by bread alone. Every word that he has given us, which means house, shelter, and spiritual bread. Not just, I know the Bible now. Okay, let me go out to my job and go to my boss so I can pay my taxes. It's obvious anything that people have done, usually they've done with other people. Let me give you an example. Imagine if Nikola Tesla, if you know Nikola Tesla is, raise your hand. But imagine if Nikola Tesla, one of the great inventors, and then the irony is that what? What's the irony? The irony is that this dude, Elon Musk, is using Tesla's name as an economic vehicle to make money, right? When Tesla was all about doing stuff that people didn't have to rely on other people, that they can help do for free. You understand what I'm saying? So, isn't that ironic? Man, I got 1,000 free tickets. I can make money selling all of them. I got this free land. I can make money selling the land. I got this free ideas on how everybody can make money and do for free. I got the blueprints to do it. I'm gonna keep them for myself. Now, what if Nikola Tesla? What if instead of just working on all these inventions stuff alone, what if he opened up schools all around, just showed and told people all these different inventions and concepts? Discreetly. So that now, over the course of like a 5-6 year period, you got like 1,000 people that can teach other people basic stuff that he taught them. You see? Well, read that verse again.
And Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies, and thou shalt go.
Yeah, grope, okay. In the groping part, right? Verse 29. So you know the way to walk in. Are you going to walk in it? It's the question. You know that you know you're going to have to face the realities of real life sooner or later, right? So wouldn't it be smart to be like, well, you know what? I'm going to prepare for this time when I'm going to have to produce in the world. So let me set up some sort of a structure now that can work for me. Because I'm intelligent, I can read, I can write, I can make sound decisions. Let me write this stuff down, what I want to do, and now let me present it to these people over here to see if this is something that I can actually do now. Yahushua didn't say, oh, I'm 30 years old now, what do I want to do with my life? He was 12 years old saying, okay, I'm with these teachers. I'm going to deal with this book. And as a result of him dealing with Yahweh, Tavo, and Chakma, what happened? It's healing people, raising the dead. Which is the greater impact on life? Which is the greater reward in the afterlife, in the judgment from the Most High? What's the greater reward? Those things that are helping life, righteousness, and justice. Go ahead.
And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways, and thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled evermore. And
So
no
oppressed
man,
and crushed always. Oppressed and crushed. Go ahead.
and no man shall save thee.
Malcolm X.
No man shall save thee.
Martin Luther King Jr.
No man shall save thee.
Huey P. Newton.
No man shall save thee.
What about Parazah?
No man shall save
No
thee.
man can save the condition. No man can save us from these conditions. So we have to turn to a feminine spirit, which is Chakma. We have to turn to Christianity and Islam and Buddhism and different forms of animist, shamanistic religions. Why? Because they want to be saved. But should I save her? Very poignant question raised by E40. Should we have Captain Save-A-Ho? Or should we have Israelites that are following the commandments, laws, and statutes, seeking the face of Yahweh to save us? Years. Is it effective? No, it's not. Every problem we have cannot be solved by looking at the Torah. You got to go into Chakma wisdom, Kokma, to see the counsel of Yahweh. Okay, read. I'm going to stop commentating so long. Hold me to that, everybody. If my commentary starts to get too long, just do something like that to remind me. Or do like this. Over the hundreds of years, we were engaged and had marriages, and white men, Arab men, African men could come and take our wives from us and lay with them. Go ahead.
Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein.
We built the White House. Well, we ain't ruling it. Barack Obama was a Hamite. He wasn't an Israelite. Go ahead.
Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and thou shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
So you're gonna be planting crops from people, but you're not gonna. How many people were starving because settlers? Stop doing that. It's making too much noise. Because settlers came onto their land when they planted their crops, and they had to run. This is a reality. Okay, go ahead. All right, next reader. Verse 30. Verse 31. Go ahead.
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof.
So your animals and your livestock are going to be taken from you, and they're going to get killed. All right? That's what happened to our people in West Africa and in East Africa. Remember, this all started, the whole raping and pillaging and oppressing the continent of Africa did not start with the white man. The major moves to destroy the people started with the Arabs in North and in East Africa. Let's wait until everybody comes in and gets settled, because it's a bunch of people missing. Anybody got some Jeopardy music? All right, go ahead. That's a euphemism, because what happened was that the so-called white man used to rape the so-called Black, Latino, and Native American man. He used to rape us. And he also took animals away from us, and we couldn't do anything about it. Go ahead.
Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies, and thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Our children couldn't have their proper food source. Where you going? Our children can have their proper food source. Why? Because the people would steal the food. They would steal the animals. They would make us raise the animals, but they couldn't, they didn't let us eat them. And we had to run away too. Go ahead. It says, your sons and your daughters. It says, Banyaka wa Banatyaka. Your sons and your daughters, read,
shall be given unto another people.
Would be given to another people. Your children will be taken from you and given to another people. Meaning your whole family structure is going to be destroyed. What are you without your sons and your daughters? You make more sons and daughters, they get taken over. It says, and this is, man, when you read this in the Hebrew, man, it's just a lot more poignant. It says your son and your daughters given to people, a card to another people. So your son and daughter will be given to another people. Go ahead.
And then I shall look and fail with longing for them.
So you would always want to have that family unit to be restored, right? You always want that family unit to be restored. We feel now, many men and many women don't have their sons and daughters. And they want their sons and daughters, but what?
And there shall be no might in thine hand.
But there's no power in their hands to get their sons and daughters. There's no strength in their hands to get their sons and daughters. Happening right now. I got sons and daughters that I don't have no strength and power over my sons and daughters. So these are curses that people just keep perpetuating on themselves because they don't want to turn to Yahweh. When you turn to Yahweh, you should know this is the action of a cursed people, and I serve Yahweh, so I'm not going to engage in this type of activity. Okay? So the children were taken away from their mothers and fathers, and there was no power in the father and mother's hand to do anything about it. Go ahead.
The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up.
All of your crops, all of your animals, all of what you have planted, America came, Spain came, France came, Britain came, Germany came, the Netherlands came, the Arabs came, and they ate it all up. See, we were already going to start slavery with the American slave trade in 1619, but there was a slave trade going on since the 600s with the Arabs and the Cushites and the East Africans selling us to the other Arab families in the Middle East and selling us to the Elamites over in India, in Pakistan, Sri Lanka. Go ahead.
And thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed.
We're going to be oppressed and crushed, which means at the bottom of society. Go ahead.
Always.
Until the Gentile power structure is taken away. Not just white people. See, you want to put the emphasis on white people. But there was African people, Hamites also. There was Arab people, Ishmaelites also. There was Elam people, Hindu people also. But I will admit, one of the systems that was cobre y bronce, ellos compran, pero en el Shabbat no compramos, no vendemos nada. So India was probably one of the, I don't want to say better places, but I've been there and I've seen it with my own eyes. People maintain a sense of identity. They retain a sense of language, some sense of culture in the midst of the other people, and they have their own land. They were treated horribly, but it didn't happen as extreme, as bad, and as wicked for such a long period of time. But it was bad. Everybody understand what I'm saying? But out of all the places that we visited and been to, I would say that the brothers and sisters over there were the most, understanding of what has happened with our people and how to correct the situation. But the problem in India is that it's illegal and you can go to jail for a very long time if you teach people the Bible, if you teach people to come back to their identity, if you teach people who they really are, if you teach people that that's not their religion, that the Torah is their book and not these books over here. Everybody understand that? So when we went to India, it was no easy job. When you're on the street teaching somebody without a microphone, one-on-one, and there's 20 angry-looking Hindus standing around you, talk to one Israelite CD man, is not a beautiful feeling. It's not a beautiful feeling, It's not a beautiful feeling. Remember when I came in, you was kind of woke you up. You were sleeping, and you were sleeping too. But I came in the room, and you saw, was it one face? You saw one face or two faces? It was one face of like an Elam-looking guy, right? So there's a lot of Israelites in these different places, right? There's a lot of Israelites in these different places. They look like us, some of them don't. But the guy was a Hindu. The guy picked a Hindu religion. The guy picked up a Bible, read the book of Matthew in Hindi or in Marathi. In Canada or Marathi, I think. Canada is a language. Okay, so for you, those who don't know, Canada, Kannada is a language over there spoken in Karnataka. And then Marathi is a language spoken in the state of Maharashtra. All right. Let me go off topic real quick. You know how you got Europe, right? And you got all these little European countries, and they all speak different languages, right? but they all the same people. But they got different histories and different families, right? Well, picture Europe, meaning Poland, Hungary, Yugoslavia, maybe Albania, Croatia, Germany, France, Bulgaria, Netherlands, Holland, okay? Picture all the different countries, and now take that and multiply it by about 5. And then give each of them their own language. And that's what you have in India. You see, India and Europe is the same concept. Same ethnic group from different families speaking different languages. Except India said, we're going to stay one country. We're going to be, these were different kingdoms and empires. Europe said, we're going to stay separate, but we're going to work together. India said, we're going to come together and we're going to work together. Everybody understand that? So getting back to the story. So this brother, you know, I met in India. I asked him, like, well, what made you really start keeping the Sabbath and keeping the scriptures, and what made you stop being a Hindu in essence? You know, some brothers were teaching him and taught him and stuff. You know, but then what happened was this, right? What happened was he picked up the book of Matthew, and he is the true God, and his son is the Messiah. That's who we're supposed to be following. And the people, he knew, because one of the first things that you do as a Hindu that they know you still following the Hindu religion is you get up and you say your prayers and everything throughout the day. When you say your prayers, they put the dot on your forehead. I'm not going to go into the specifics and the details of it. People do it for different reasons, but they understand. So the guy, he stopped doing that. And they told the guy, such and such day, such and such time, since you don't want to follow the God of our people no more, we're going to burn down your house and whoever is in it. So such and such day came, such and such time, they burned down his house. They'll kill you if you worship Yahweh. They will burn down your house if you start believing in the Bible. And that's what happened to the brother. They burned down his whole crib. But then you got different villages set up where people do believe in the Bible. And you got Muslims kind of there also. So they got kind of like little buffer zones. Muslims and people that believe in the Bible with a little bit of Hindus mixed in. But if there's a beef or a problem, then the Hindus and people that believe in the Hindus will have to fight 2 groups of people. And them 2 groups of people have at least a common foundation through Abraham and the Torah, where they can say, okay, we need to put out our differences and try to save each other's lives on the battlefield. All right. So the point I'm making is that you just can't go into certain areas and say, well, I'm going to teach the Bible here. They would kill you. And a lot of Israelites is not ready for that type of challenge. A lot of Israelites are not ready to make that, yes, a lot of Israelites are not ready to make that type of stand. But thanks to Yahweh, boy, not bragging or boasting, boy, but we was out there talking one-on-one with no microphone, no speaker, no security, nobody on post, ain't nobody harm us, ain't nobody touch us. When we started teaching them, they wanted us to teach more a lot of times, depending on who it was. Hindus ain't really trying to hear what you were saying. The Israelite Hindus listen. But then the Muslims, Israelite and Hindu Muslims, they want to hear more. You know, they want to hear more. But again, go get some tissue and stuff. But again, man, they was trying to, people get murdered and killed and burnt over there for doing stuff against the Hindu way of doing it. You know, everybody understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
What verse you in?
Verse 34.
Oh, that's all? Yeah. What was you about to say? You wanted to say something?
I was just gonna say, over in Afghanistan, they're going door to door killing Christians now. All right, they're doing their purge over in Afghanistan through the Taliban.
This has been confirmed by sideline and mainstream news sources.
Okay.
And And the whole thing I want to say about that is that, don't you believe for a moment that the U.S. is giving up whatever's going on in Afghanistan? There's some type of economic and definitely clandestine plan going on. Everybody understand what I'm saying? They made some type of secret agreements or something. They didn't just say we can just leave Afghanistan. They got CIA over there. They got a whole company of killers still over there. And they're probably gonna go through and pluck them people off one by one that's in leadership. You understand what I'm saying? Or they say, okay, China, y'all get in there. Let's work out a profit sharing plan. Because the U.S. still need access to them poppy fields. That's where all the heroin in America is coming from, that the U.S. government is making money off of. You don't believe me? Check out what's happening in Vietnam. Opium was being grown in Vietnam, and they were shipping it back to America. Check it out, you don't believe it. The whole opium business is controlled by the American. The weed business got a little more flexibility, but now it's pretty much controlled by the American government. But now you gotta have a dispensary license and, you know, all this and that before you can sell it and stuff. All right, go ahead.
So that thou shalt be mad for the sight of thine eyes.
So you oppressed and you mad. Are not Israelite women just mad a lot? Do not Israelite men just seem like they always got some type of attitude problem or something is wrong or they're not happy? It's the prophecies. Because of the oppression and the crushing happening. Go ahead.
Which thou shalt sing. Yahweh shall smite thee in the knees and the legs with a sore botch that cannot be healed.
Which means that you're not going to have the resources or the physical strength to focus on changing that condition because your legs hurt, your knees hurt, your sole of your foot hurt, the crown of your, everything's hurting and sore. So this is specific and literal, also metaphoric. You don't have no soldiers. All right, the sole of your foot is hurting. The crown of your head is hurting. You don't got no proper leadership that's not sore and it's sick in the brain. Okay? Your knees are smitten, so you can't really get on your knees and bow down and pray to Yahweh for things to change. So you're going to have different spiritual sicknesses too. So these are things that are very literal, but they're also metaphoric. We also complain about, oh, my knees or my arthritis or my rheumatoid is acting up or it's raining. Why? Because my knees is hurting. You see? So you have to remember these things and see that these things are what's going to happen to the children of Israel, not other nations. So these things didn't happen to everybody. They happened to us. Go ahead.
From the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head,
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee.
You and your leadership. Okay, go ahead.
Unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known. And there
People that you didn't rock with. Nation you didn't deal with. You didn't know these people. You had no intimate relationship with these different ethnic groups. Okay?
And there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations whither Yahweh shall lead thee. Thou shalt carry much seed out into the field, and shalt gather but little in.
So you're going to carry seed in, you can't go gather nothing. Again, a lot of this stuff is based on economics. Okay? You're going to carry seed into the field, and you're going to be a proverb and a byword amongst all people. They have names that they call us in every country. Right? They have names they call us in every country. So we're not loved by these other nations, but they love what we do. So they love our music. They love our music, but they don't love you. You think that Koreans and Chinese and and Chinese and Japanese, you think they love you? What are they trying to do for you and your people? And I think they're distracting y'all younger people because it's all about them imitating and mocking stuff that you do or stuff that you like. But they hate your guts in leadership because they're trying to do things to boost up their people. They're not trying to say, well, yeah, I'm gonna move to Compton. I'm gonna move to East Side. I'm gonna move to Harlem, and we're gonna change the whole Harlem culture. Now they're trying to make money. They're vehicles that's being used by the Illuminati to distract your mind and to make people and to pay people for doing that. Ain't nothing righteous coming out these people's lips and mouth or what they doing or drawing. It's a distraction to keep you away from your potential. Because you watch children get caught up in this different type of stuff, but then what about their own potential? What are they harnessing? What are they trying to harness in their own potential? And believe me, when you 25, 26, 30, or whatever age, you ain't gonna be worried about anime. You ain't gonna be worried about if you ain't play your cards right. You can be worried about, okay, where am I live at? Who will accept me as an employee? Who will accept me as a tenant as a resident in their apartment complex? If you don't play your cards right, if you play your cards right, everything you see can be yours. But it takes hard work, dedication, and it takes a plan. In other words, if you go to war, you're gonna grab the arrow and just go like that. You're gonna grab the arrow, let it go, hit the target. And the Most High said children are like arrows. But who's directing that arrow? Chinese, Japanese, Koreans, or Yasha Allah? Well, which one is more fun? Because ain't no fun with a room full of comic books and no money. Now it's fun to invest in comic books and have money and understand the value of what you have to be able to liquidate that. But in a minute, is it really gonna be worth anything in the long run?
No.
You know? Is that AMC really gonna be worth anything when everything is said and done? No. What's gonna be worth something? The resources and the assets that you get. So all of the bywords they call us with the wooden cross, which so-called Christianity, which is really just idolatry, and the stone is the black stone when you go into Mecca and they kiss that rock. That's the two main religions our people are caught up in today. Islam and so-called Christianity. So we got to get away from those religions because these are things Yahweh specifically says are going to be curses unto us. So why would we want to follow these things? All right, go ahead.
Thou shalt plant vineyards and dress them.
So you're going to plant a vineyard and take care of it. Go ahead.
But thou shalt neither drink the wine, nor gather the grapes, for the worms shall eat them.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt have olive trees throughout all thy coasts.
So olive trees and all our coasts, that's found mainly in Turkey, Syria, North Africa, Israel, Lebanon. So I tell you, you're going to be in a place where you got olive trees. That's Asia Minor. Over in, man, how much olive trees? It was olives and olive trees everywhere in Turkey, wasn't it? Olive trees and what? Pomegranate trees, right? Pomegranate trees, olive trees, just everywhere. People's yards just falling on the ground. Just get rotting on the ground. Right? So this is something that's very regional. So you're gonna have olive trees, what?
But thou shalt not anoint thyself with the oil, for thine olives shall cast his fruit.
That olive shall drop off, not be productive and keep producing no more. Okay, so your whole production of the olive and the olive oil is gonna go down. Read.
Thou shalt beget sons and daughters,
So you're going to have children. Go ahead.
but thou shalt not enjoy them.
You won't have a normal life of enjoying and seeing your children grow up. Why?
For they shall go into captivity.
They should go into captivity. So these people are in the Caribbean area, or in the Mediterranean area, and they were taken from there and they were put into captivity. These people are in place where they have a bunch of sheep and cattle, which we know is not a whole bunch of cattle production in the Middle East. That's going now into when they came into the Western Hemisphere, in a place where we had a bunch of cows and cattle at, and they put us into captivity. So you have sons and daughters, but the sons and daughters are going to go into slavery. So we got the sons and daughters being taken away, and we have them being caught and taken into captivity. When you take me from my mother and father, and you put me into captivity, I'm going to have to start speaking that other language. I'm going to lose my own language. My parents aren't there to show me the culture we come from, how we do things. I'm going to lose my culture. I'm going to lose my understanding of the Torah. I'm going to start following another religion. So we who fulfill these prophecies are the target of the return of Israel back to the Most High. Why do I say that? Because so much of these prophecies. So that we are the Golah, we are the diaspora. We are the ones that this book is talking about to a T. And everybody else, not everybody, most of the other people are converts. But give us our respect. Give us our props. Give us what is ours. Not what you took and adopted as your own, and you overlooking the natural branches. We are the natural branches, man. And all these other religions, if religions and denominations and stuff, man, don't mean nothing. Right? So you're gonna have sons and daughters, but the sons and daughters are gonna be given unto another people. Meaning they're not gonna be with their families, and they're gonna be following a whole different way of life. And that's happened to us. So who else had their family unit destroyed through slavery? The whole North America to South America. The whole family unit destroyed through slavery. There's only a small percentage of people in the Western Hemisphere that speak their ancient languages. You go into Africa, they still speak it. You go into China, Chinese. Right? Japan. We don't even look at these as ancient languages, do we? Because it's the language that's been developing since they've been speaking. Hindu, we don't look at that as ancient, but these are very ancient languages. And they still speak them. Why? Because the mother and the father were all kept together in a beautiful unit for the most part. But we speak Elam, we speak Karnataka, we speak Kannada, we speak whatever the language they speak down in, I forget, the brothers speak in Sri Lanka, France, German. We can't even speak to each other because we speak different languages. But India is united through Hindi. Most people can speak Hindi. All right? And then I think France is the language that a lot of people speak over in Europe, in Germany, Belgium, Austria, Switzerland. I think France is kind of one of the languages that brings them together, French and English, but definitely not German and not Spanish. So what's the point we're making? The point that we're making is that Yahweh said that you're going to have sons and daughters, and they're going to go into captivity. Is this only for one generation? No. Many generations, man. Did not the Native Americans also go into slavery? It's not a question of whether you believe that the Native Americans are Semitic. It's a matter of, did the Native Americans fulfill these prophecies? Yes, they did. Well, they must be Israelites. Did the people in Congo fulfill these prophecies? Yes, they did. Well, they must be Israelites. Let's see. All right, go ahead. Verse 42.
All thy trees and fruit of thy land shall locusts consume. The stranger that is within
So the
thee
Gentiles that come into where we are, read.
shall get up above thee
It
very
says
high.
the who?
The stranger,
The African,
the stranger,
the Greek,
the stranger,
the Turkish,
the stranger,
the German,
the stranger,
the Arab,
the stranger,
the Syrian,
the stranger,
the Jordanian,
the
the
stranger,
Palestinian,
the stranger,
the
the
Australian, the
stranger,
Korean,
the stranger,
the Chinese,
the stranger,
the Japanese,
the stranger,
the British,
the stranger,
the Portuguese,
the stranger,
all of the strangers on the planet Earth that do what?
that is within thee,
The strangers that come within the areas where we are shall what?
shall get up above thee very high.
Economically, socially, politically, all right? They shall get above us very high. And what?
And thou shalt come down very low.
So we come down lower and lower. The Gentiles have put themselves, go into any country. Mexicans don't own these businesses that you see around here. Mexicans, all the Israelites don't own any businesses, the big businesses in America or around the world. Read.
He shall lend to any,
They're going to have the economic power, and we're going to be asking them for money. Go ahead.
and thou shalt not lend to him.
That's why when you got a president of Bolivia, like, was it Bolivia, Ecuador, Evo Morales, that told, that said, we don't want the United Nations Bank. We don't want the International Monetary Fund in our country. We don't want to deal with global banking. We want to deal with our own economic system, and we want to do our thing, and they kick them out of the country. There's only a couple of countries. That's how you see if a country is really on the payroll of the Illuminati. Look and see, are they part of the International Monetary Fund? And if they are, things are going to be bad for bad for the poor and good for the leaders. And if they not, things are going to be bad for everybody. You see, Taliban, all they had to do was destroy the whole central banking system for that country in Afghanistan. What can a country do without paper money anymore? How are they going to buy weapons? What are they going to pay stuff with? We got gold someplace. So now you get into how major bank accounts is set up to pay for stuff, and then you just drop ship the product to the people. Isn't that even really control? Okay, well, why don't we control the planes coming in and out of that country? Any airplane that flies into this country that we have not authorized is getting shut down. It's getting shot down. And you shoot them down. If I can think of this, and I'm, not in government, world, military, circles, you don't tell them that they can't think of these things. Yes, they can, but they choose not to. Why? Because it's all a big game. It's all a big game. Who's gonna make the most money? Remember, everybody saw Trading Places with Eddie Murphy? The two brothers made a bet, one was trying to help Eddie Murphy, right? The other was trying to keep him broke, keep him poor. And that was the base of the bet. And they made the bet over $1. But in the end, when Eddie Murphy found out about the bet, he made them guys poor, took all their money, and they was on the street. And I think at the end, he gave them both, or he gave them $1. They were playing with that, they were playing with his life. It's a good movie to see just how stuff really works in the real world. This is what actually is going on. They betting on Haiti. Because they make money if Haiti is up or Haiti is down. The French, everybody knows what the French did to Haiti, right? They made Haitians pay money to France to be free. I would say, man, to hell with all y'all.
Man.
You can come here again if you want to. Come here again if you want to. That's why a lot of times they had a policy in war called slash and burn. You cut everything down when the enemy's coming in and you burn it so they can't use it. Or we're gonna go attack Parza and them because they got grain, they got animals, whatever you can't carry, you kill it and you burn it. That's the rule. So your enemy now, he don't know the terrain, he don't know the country. So he's starving. thinking he gonna go to war and take what you got. You think, no, I'm gonna burn this up. Why? We know about this pond over here that got fish in it that you don't know about. We know about this cave that you jumped into the ground. You don't know about it. I've seen whole cavern systems in the space underground that I couldn't even easily fit through. But then you go in there, this whole cavern system set up. You have storage, you have food. Especially Zebulon was famous for that, you see. So the point we're making is that in this whole economic system, if they want to destroy somebody or a country, they can. You control the economy, you control the IMF, International Monetary Fund. You can collapse that money. That's why they got what they call economic hitmen. But that's all a game too. They don't even take all of that. They don't even take all of that. You know, China, America could go in with literally 1 million troops and literally just canvass the whole country. They could. They don't want to do that though, because it's not about safety and protection, it's about money. And Joe Biden just said, you know what? It's better for us to outsource. It's better for us to outsource our poppy, our heroin production, than it is for us to have an on-site management team. That's what happened. Don't think that dude gave up Afghanistan. He got killers on the payroll over there just waiting to do their job. He got economic hitmen over there waiting to do their job. And they got supervisors watching over the poppy production to feed America their opium addiction.
And Europe.
And the people just waiting to take orders. I call you verse?
Verse 44.
Mm-hmm.
He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail.
So the Israelites, we're at the back end of every company, or we're the face of the company, but they're still running it. So the head and not the tail mean that we're not at the top making the decisions. And this goes into the economy, socially, and politically. Who controls Christianity? Huh? What people? Huh? Esau, white people. Who controls Islam? Esau, white people. There's only one religion that Israel controls, and that's the same religion there's only one thing the Israelites control, and that's on the left-hand side, negative tip, and that's what they was controlling in Israel. They control the spirituality of things. Because all of the voodoo priests and stuff and the witch doctors got the most power out of everybody, but they don't use it the right way in a worldly sense. They don't use it for liberation or to fight for real. And the ones that did, they kind of, they get killed. Because it's still about Satan. You can't go around these prophecies. Okay? So the Israelites were going to have their economic power taken from them. We don't even have a country. The Israelites were going to have their children taken from them and sold in slavery. Go ahead.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy High, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder.
So the curses came upon us because we didn't keep the commandments. And now they're upon us for a wonder. Everybody looking at us, knowing, well, yeah, these people are the Israelites, or what's going on? Okay. Go ahead.
And upon thy seed forever, because thou servest not the Almighty.
So what we have to do, we have to pray to deliver our children from these curses. We have to have our children and the family heads do things that's going to deliver your children from these curses. Go ahead.
Because thou servest not Yahweh the High with joyfulness and with gladness of heart.
So you have to serve him with joyfulness and gladness of heart. Not just serving him but you have to be joyful and glad to serve Yahweh. Go ahead.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
You're going to serve your enemies. All the nations we've been serving. Go ahead.
Which Yahweh shall send against thee.
Yahweh is the one that said, go get them. Go ahead.
In hunger.
In hunger. So if you're hungry, you got to serve your enemy. Go ahead.
And in thirst.
You thirsty, you got to serve your enemy. Go ahead.
And in nakedness. And in want of all things.
Go ahead.
And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck.
So he's going to put a yoke of iron upon your neck. You know, the favorite part of this verse, this talking about you being in slavery, captivity, and control. And the Hebrew word for iron is what? Barzal. And the greatest number of slaves were taken where? To Brazil. So the consonants in Barzal are what? And the consonants for Brazil are what? So BRZL, and sometimes you can say BRSL, Brazil, which is based on a what? What's one of the hardest nuts in the world, almost like iron? The Brazil nut. See how the Most High set that up? So how can you say that this isn't about us? And when we first came into the truth, when I first came into the truth, man, I memorized all these verses. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemy with the Lord thy God shall send against thee hunger, thirst, and nakedness, and on one of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. We've memorized all of them, because man, this stuff is profound and deep to us. Especially those kind like that. We're just wanting clothes, wanting food, and wanting something to drink. And had iron chains, iron yokes put upon their necks. Who else that happened to? Like it happened to us. Huh? So how are we not these people that he's talking about? How is Yahweh not telling us what's going to happen to us? All right, go ahead.
Until he have as swift as the eagle flight, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
From the extreme borders of wickedness, when you go into Malachi 1, it said that Esau, the so-called white people, are the borders of wickedness. So that other end of the earth can get into just the outer bounds of all of the wickedness on the planet Earth. They encompass all of it. Things was so far removed from how we did things. In other words, our law said, if your slave run away, you lose. Their law say, slave ran away, bring him back to his master. Our law say, slave run away, keep him away from his master. Okay. So we had so many, our slaves said, our law said, you know, treat your slave like a brother, but sometimes you might have to beat him. Their law say, treat your slave better, treat your dogs and your horses better than your slave and beat him as often as possible and don't show him no kindness whatsoever. This is what they did. So everything that they did was totally opposite to how the Israelites did things. That's why the slavery that the Cherokees had and the slavery that the Seminoles had was different than the slavery that the white people, Edomite Americans had. Okay? Because we had slavery in Africa. So there's nothing wrong in itself with slavery per se. Because you had different reasons historically why people could go into slavery. You do your own research. It could be a debt. It could be you got caught on the wrong side of the war. And we're not about to give them soldiers to fight against us again. So you're going to stay with us. The Native Americans did that. The Africans did that. Different Viking families did that. The Israelites didn't do that. They'd kill you. Wasn't no POWs unless you was a woman or a child. Them the only POWs we really had. You see? So in the whole system, the strangers were getting above everybody. Israel's coming down low, and they put a yoke of iron upon our necks until they had destroyed us. All right? So in our system of slavery, the white man came and said, we're going to be brutal and kill everybody. Africans had slavery, but they wasn't nice. They wasn't bad to the slaves. And you in this whole 20th 21st century, or slavery is wrong. Well, guess what? For the large part of human history until recently, it was a part of everyday life. Part of everyday life. So when you look about, Shaka Zulu, Egyptology, Kemet, when you read about ancient India, when you read about early Christianity, guess what? Slavery and servants were a part of all those societies. So don't get all, how do you call it? You're gonna get all, like the white man, after he done made everybody else into slaves, now you wanna try to say slavery is wrong when he done benefited the most out of slavery than everybody. Him and the Chinese benefited a lot off of slavery. All right, go ahead.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the older, nor show favor unto the young.
So they don't respect the older young people. They were selling and killing and murdering everybody. With the Gadites, Native Americans, and the black people, the tribe of Judah. And the Mexicans, the tribe of Issachar. Murdering and killing everybody. The Portuguese were doing the Asherites down in Brazil bad, and the Spanish were doing the Asherites in Colombia and Venezuela, Bolivia bad, Peru bad. The Spanish were doing evil, wicked things to the tribe of Naphtali down in Argentina and Chile. Go ahead.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy land, until it be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates, until thy high and fenced walls come down.
So we had fortified cities. This is getting into Jerusalem as well as every other place that we went to, where we had protection, walls, safety. Read. They tore it down. Go ahead.
Wherein thou trustest throughout all thy land.
Our battle always has to start in the spiritual. Understand that. Your problems that you have don't get solved in the physical world. They get solved in the spiritual world righteously. If you solve it in the physical world, the solution may not last. If you solve it from the spiritual world using chokmah, wisdom, and the Proverbs, it's going to be a lasting solution. Go ahead.
And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body.
So cannibalism. We got involved in cannibalism. All right, go ahead.
The flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which Yahweh thy Elohim hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee.
So we were eating our dead babies because we didn't have no more food to eat. We started going into cannibalism. Go ahead. And today, we have black on black, Latino on Latino. So you want to ask why are we killing each other? Because of these curses we living under. That's why we killing each other. That's why we destroying each other. Because it's curses that the wicked, disobedient Israelites are going to be doing to each other. And if you see these things happening, it's because that spirit is still there. That hatred towards your brother. Go ahead. His eye shall be evil toward his brother.
And towards the wife of his bosom.
His eye going to be evil toward his woman too. Go ahead.
And toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
So you're going to leave the women and the children. Go ahead.
So he will not give to any of them the flesh of his children whom he shall eat.
So he's going to eat his own children, and he's not going to share any of it with the woman. So you're going to be doing wickedness, but not doing the wickedness with her. Not letting her be a beneficiary of that wickedness that he's doing. Go ahead.
Because he hath nothing left him in the siege and the straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee.
Because he
in all
felt like
thy gates.
he felt like he didn't have no other choice but to do these things. Go ahead.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which should not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon
So the woman
ground.
that was tender and delicate, you know, what they call prissy, she didn't feel like she could even step on the ground. She had to have flowers and rose petals thrown on the ground for her when she walked. What's she gonna do? Go ahead.
Her eyes shall be evil toward the husband of her bosom,
Her eyes gonna turn against her husband. Read.
and toward her son,
Uh-huh.
and toward her daughter,
Uh-huh.
and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear.
So she gonna be against her children and against her man. Go ahead.
For she shall eat them for want of all things.
She eat the children and she's gonna eat the afterbirth. Okay?
In the siege and straightness,
Because there's no other food. There's nothing else for them to eat. Go ahead.
wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee, and thy gates. And
So it
thou-
tells you against her son and her daughter, and against the afterbirth that comes between her legs, and against the children whom she shall bear, she will eat them. So she'll eat the children and the afterbirth. And not, even nowadays, they're trying to tell women, oh, birth. Okay?
If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, Yahweh thou Mahai. Then Yahweh will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues by seed, even great plagues, and of long countenance, and sore sicknesses, and of long countenance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee, and every sickness and every plague, which is not written in this book of the law. Them will Yahweh bring upon thee, until thou be destroyed. Obey the voice of Yahweh thy Elohim. And it shall come to pass that as Yahweh rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so Yahweh will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And you shall be plucked off from the land whither thou goest to possess it. And Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people.
Among how many people?
Among all people.
I don't see Chinese and Japanese scattered and all people being brought there on ships and put in captivity. I see us, you know, you see people that look Latino and people that look black in all these different places on the bottom of the totem pole, on the bottom of the social ladders. Read.
From one end of the earth even unto the
From
other.
the east to the west, north and the south, we spread out being oppressed and in captivity. Only the children of Israel fit these prophecies. Happened in America as well as all other continents. Read.
And there thou shalt serve other
We're
gods,
going to serve other gods. Which ones?
which neither thou nor thy fathers have known,
Uh-huh.
even wood and
The
stone.
wood is represented by so-called Christianity, the wooden cross. Wood and what?
And stone.
And the stone is getting into Islam, the religion that the Arabs taught us. Read.
And among these nations shall thou find no ease.
So we can't find any ease or comfort as a nation in any of these different places that we go to. Go ahead.
Neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart,
Mm-hmm.
and failing of eyes,
Uh-huh.
and sorrow of mind.
So we're gonna have our soul is gonna start to change, our mind is gonna start to change, our strength is gonna change. We're not gonna be brave anymore. Why? Because the Most High is punishing us for going against His commandments. So we don't have no rest as a nation. Go ahead.
And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and thou shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would Elohim it were even,
Mm-hmm.
and at even thou shalt say, would Elohim if it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear. and for the sight of thine eyes, which thou shalt see. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships,
So Yahweh gonna allow us.
by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there he shall be sold unto your enemies.
So we were sold unto our enemies. So remember, it says that we were sold to our enemies. And this has confused a lot of our people, because in the Greek, in the Hebrew rather, it says, you shall be sold unto your enemies. It says, you shall sell yourself unto your enemies. But then it comes back and says, but no man shall buy you. So in the Hebrew right here, it says, and scatter you Yahweh in all the people from the end of the earth to the end of the earth, and to serve their gods of others. I'm sorry, that's not the verse. Okay. Return with Yahweh, and you shall offer yourselves for sale. Okay. Which actually says, why? It says, hath makartam. It says, you shall sell yourselves. So the word there, they try to say, it says, you shall offer yourselves for sale, but it says, you shall sell yourselves. It says, hath makartam. Anybody got a, we can look that up real quick just to verify. Everybody with me? So all you gotta do is just look at makar. Just type the word makar in the Greek. You should have it's makar. So definition of makar. All right, so we pull that up, because that's the root word. So it's makar. It says, this is a common definition. It says to sell. In the Kleins, which is one of the excellent Hebrew dictionary sources. I don't know if the Kleins came before or after Jusinius's dictionaries, but on the Kleins it tells you that it means to sell. And we know that the hath beginning at a word means that you're gonna do this yourself. So it says wahath makatam. So it says to sell, he sold, he delivered over, was sold, was delivered over. And then it has it says, okay, they got the hith. See? It says hath makar. See that? Hath makar says without the suffix of the plural on the end. Okay? Just the hath makar, the basic simple action of somebody doing something. It says he sold himself. Okay? He delivered himself. He devoted himself. Everybody got that? It says makar, merchandise value or price. So, and when you look at the Hebrew, to try to get a basic understanding of the grammar to know exactly what it says. So it says, in my translation in the Hebrew, it says, and you will offer yourselves for sale. But the actual Hebrew itself says you all will sell yourselves. Then it says shama. It says there la ayab yaka, to your enemy. Everybody listening? So this is going into a very, it doesn't say ayab yakam. It's a very specific set of enemies. Use a very specific enemy for each thing that is talking. Each cell is a very specific enemy. To your enemies, it says la ibadyam, to be servants or slaves. Why?
La makak wath. Okay? La mapak wath. Okay? I'm sorry, la shapak wath as female servants. It says wa'ayan and their wa'ayan and their and none quana, no buyer. It says there's no buyer. So how can you sell yourself and there's no buyer? Well, let's look at it. First, you sold. The scripture says that you sold yourself. You came into captivity and you sold yourself because of your wickedness, your wickedness that you did. Okay, so you're in captivity. So you are sold. Okay, so you are sold. So now, what happened after they did the selling? What did they have after slavery was over in America? What did they have? Abraham Lincoln, what did he do? Emancipation Proclamation, everybody's free, and then what did our people do? Well, let me come work back with you for money, boss. Let me come back and work for you. And what happened? They became sharecroppers. So they sold themselves back onto them plantations. A lot of our people did. And for so many years they was working and get no pay. So they didn't get bought. So they sold themselves right back into slavery and nobody bought them. So there's no exchange. Everybody understand what I'm saying? Work. Oh, well, you know what? Your rent, the house, that room you staying in back there, man, and the crops you planting and you eating them, I got to take that out of your pay. What do you get out of the deal? Nothing. You're just working the same as you were before slavery. Except now I made you a slave on paper.
Yeah.
Right? The electric companies, the gas companies, everybody's paying the white man taxes off everything they have. And you're the only one left with nothing after you pay all your bills. So you're still a slave. Because you're working to put money in everybody else's pocket. You see? So now when it comes to this right here, it say, you're going to sell yourself, then it says, there will be no buyer. It doesn't say you're not going to, it says you will be sold to your enemies. That's what it says. It says, Wahat makartam shama, and you will sell yourselves there, la ayabyaka, to your enemy, la ibadyam, as or for slaves. Okay, then it says, wa'ayan, and there or there's none, quanah, there's no buyer. There will be no buyer. You see? But y'all understand the mystery of it all is that first word. It says you will sell yourselves there to your enemies. Meaning when you come into this modern Egypt, okay? Because we already read about in verse 41 and 32 that we're going to be sold, our children are going to be taken away, and they're going to become captives. We read about that already, right? We read about being in bondage already. And when we go into Leviticus 26, verse 40 on down, it says that we're going to be in captivity and we're going to be put into the other nations. Okay. All right, so we clear on that. So this is like fulfilled twice in this one verse. One, you will be sold to your enemies, period. You will sell yourself to enemies. Why? Because the Most High told you, if you do this, you're gonna go to your enemies as slaves. So you brought it upon yourself with your wickedness that you were doing, and this is the consequence of it. So when you sold yourself, now they say, well, okay, we're gonna free you. And when you free, you try to sell yourself back, but they don't buy you, but they trick you into thinking they're gonna give you money for working for them, and they give you nothing. So nobody bought you. There was no buyer. Go ahead. Kalashad al-Dabari Yahweh. Naishawa Nashami.
All that Yahweh said.
All that Yahweh said.
What are we doing here?
We're doing. This is the thing. Reading in the Hebrew goes to 69.
Yeah, I was about to say that.
Okay. All right, read.
These are the words of the covenant which Yahweh commanded Moshe to make with the children of Yasharallah in the land of Moab, beside the covenant which he made with them in Horeb.
So Yahweh made this covenant. So covenant is the deal, that's the contract. You keep it, it's good. You break it, it's bad for you. All right? So you got to keep that covenant. So we got to walk in the things that's going to give us the blessings. Go ahead.
And Moshe called.
Actually, let's have, you come up and read now.
It's only 8.
All right, so, all right, go ahead.
And Moshe called unto all Yasha'Allah and said unto them, Ye have seen all that Yahweh did before your eyes in the land of Egypt unto Pharaoh and unto all his servants and unto all his land. The great temptations which thine eyes have seen, the signs and those great miracles. Yet Yahweh hath not given you an heart to perceive, and eyes to see, and ears to hear unto this day. And I have led you 40 years in the wilderness,
Led you 40 years, go ahead.
and your clothes are not waxen old upon you.
The clothes were growing as we were walking in the wilderness, go ahead.
And thy shoe is not waxen old upon thy foot.
So the shoe didn't get old. The shoe was always like it was new. Go ahead.
Ye have not eaten bread, neither have you drunken wine, or strong drink, that ye might know that I am Yahweh your Elohim.
So the Most High gave us basic provisions of the manna in the wilderness, and we were strong, and we was healthy, and we was ready to fight and do battle. Nourish us properly with food from the sky. Go ahead.
And when ye came unto this place, Sihon the king of Heshbon and Og the king of Bashan came out against us unto battle,
Right.
and we smote them.
Right.
And we took their land and gave it for an inheritance unto the Reubenites and to the Gadites and to the half the tribe of
So
Manasseh.
they took the land and gave it to the Reubenites, so-called Seminole Indians, and the Gadites, North American Indians, and the half of the tribe of Manasseh, which is the Cubans today. They had 2 territories because Jacob made him as the firstborn, like Reuben, and gave him a double portion instead of giving. Right, go ahead.
Keep therefore the words of this covenant and do them, that ye may prosper in all that ye do.
Okay. So he said, if you keep the covenant, you're going to prosper. Okay. All right, so the Haftarah is Isaiah chapter 60, right?
1 to 22.
Isaiah 60, 1 through 22. I read that. Isaiah chapter 60.
Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for thy light is come.
This is talking about the salvation of our nation, the deliverance of our nation.
Darkness shall cover the earth.
They're not going to be getting any answer from their God. The economic system is going to fall. Their politicians are going to fall. Go ahead.
But Yahweh shall rise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee.
So we're going to be the ones Yahweh is going to raise up, and the glory of Yahweh is going to be seen upon the children of Yasharallah. All right, go ahead.
And the Gentiles shall come to thy light,
So the nation's going to be trying to follow us, come to us, to learn from us. Korah.
and the kings to the brightness of thy
The
rising.
king's going to humble themselves before us. All kings of all nations. Go ahead.
Lift up thine eyes round about,
Uh-huh.
and see all they gather themselves together. They come to thee.
Mhm.
Thy son shall come from far, and thy daughter shall be nursed at thy side. Then thou shalt see and flow together, and thine heart shall fear, and be enlarged, because of the abundance of the sea shall be converted unto thee.
So they're going to be bringing our children, the children of Israel from far away, they're going to be bringing them back. All right, go ahead.
The forces of the Gentiles shall come unto thee.
Which means the wealth of the nations. All their wealth and resources and assets, we're going to control and operate. Go ahead.
The multitude of camels shall cover thee, the dromedaries of Midian and Ephah, all they from Sheba shall
So
come.
all of these resources from these different nations that they're famous for, this going into the Middle East. Sound like the Muslims are winning this war? They bring their camels, their dromedaries, their caravans are going to be coming to us. So the Arabs and the Muslims and the Ishmaelites and the Shiites and the Sunnis and the Sufis, they're going to lose this war. They're not going to win the war. They're going to lose the war. All right, go ahead.
They shall bring gold and incense,
They're going to be bringing resources to us. Read.
and they shall show forth the praises of Yahweh,
Of Allah,
of Yahweh,
of Muhammad,
of
of
Yahweh,
the Hadith,
of
of the
Yahweh,
Quran.
of Yahweh.
They're going to be showing that's who they're going to be praising. Not this false God that they've created. Read.
All the flocks of Kedar,
Which is in Saudi Arabia. They're going to give us flocks. Go ahead.
the rams of Nebaioth shall minister unto thee.
So they're going to serve us. These are things that's going to be sacrifices to Yahweh. Because some sacrifices required a ram, required a flocks. Go ahead.
They shall come up with acceptance on my altar.
See that? They're going to be raising animals for us to get and sacrifice to Yahweh. I guess. So this ain't no vegan delight right here. This ain't no vegan ram. This ain't no vegetable ram. This ain't a cucumber. Right? This is not ram tofu. Okay? Go ahead.
And I will glorify the house of my and I will glorify the house of my glory.
Mm-hmm.
Who are these that fly as a cloud,
So we're going to be able to fly. Fly in these clouds. Go ahead.
and as the doves in their windows.
Mm-hmm.
To surely the isles shall wait for me, and the ships of Tarshish first, to go bring thy sons from far, their silver and their gold with them.
Now, you'll be actually able to fly, and then sometimes they're going to, one of the commentaries that there's going to be a sail on these big ships bringing us over there, and it's going to look like boats, big boats going to be flying, looking like dove wings. All right, go ahead.
Unto the name of Yahweh the High, and to the Holy One of
They're
Yasha'ah,
going to be bringing our sons and daughters, our sons, meaning they're going to be bringing other Israelites, and silver and gold. Go ahead.
because he hath glorified thee,
Go ahead.
and the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls.
So the Gentiles, the sons of strangers, are going to be building up our walls. All right? The sons of the strangers. So their sons, the sons of strangers, are going to build up our walls, build up our protection, build up our borders and boundaries for our cities. Go ahead.
And their kings shall minister unto thee.
Uh-huh.
For in my wrath have I smote thee,
Right.
but in my favor have I had mercy on thee.
Mercy and compassion is going to come to us. Go ahead.
Therefore thy gates shall be open continually,
They're going to be open all the time because people are always going to be wanting to come and bless us. Read.
they shall not be shut day or night,
Uh-huh.
that men may bring unto thee the forces of the Gentiles,
The wealth of the Gentiles. So on the Shabbat, the wealth they're going to bring is their loyalty, their integrity, dedication, and honor to us as a nation, as a people. Go ahead.
for the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish.
Whoever don't want to serve us is going to perish. Go ahead.
Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted.
Utterly wasted, totally destroyed. Go ahead.
The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee,
All of their arborists, their resources that they have with the trees and the nice strong building firs, building cedars to do construction with. Go ahead.
The fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together to beautify the place of my sanctuary, and I will make the place of my feet glorious.
They're going to help build up the temple with those resources, because that's the same place where Hiram was from, who helped Solomon with resources to build the temple. Go ahead.
The sons also of them that afflicted thee,
The descendants of the people that did us evil, their children, what's going to happen?
shall come bending unto thee,
They're going to come bowing down to us. Go ahead.
and all they that despise thee shall bow down themselves at the soles of thy
They're
feet.
going to bow down at our feet. So you have to check the thing. Go ahead.
And they shall call thee the city of Yahweh,
The city of Yahweh. Go ahead.
the Zion of the Holy One of Yashar'Allah.
Remember, Zion means monument. So the monument of Yashar'Allah. Nothing was on there? All right. Go ahead.
Whereas thou hast been forsaken and hated,
Everybody threw us to the side. They left us alone. They hated us. They don't want nothing else to do with us. They used us and abused us and then threw us away. Go ahead.
so that no man went through thee.
Mm-hmm.
I will make thee an eternal excellency,
Eternal excellency. Go ahead.
a joy of many generations.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt also suck the milk of the Gentiles, and shalt suck the breasts of kings. And thou shalt know that I, Yahweh, am thy Savior and thy Redeemer.
Meaning we're going to control and consume all of their resources. Go ahead.
The mighty one.
We're not going to consume everything that they have, but what they have is going to be used for us also. And we're going to control it. Go ahead.
The mighty one of Jacob and thy Redeemer. Or the mighty one of Jacob. For brass I will bring gold, and for iron I will bring silver, and for wood, brass, and for stones, iron. I will make thy officers peace, and thy exactors righteousness.
So which means that everything got to step up. We got a lot of brass. Okay, this brass is common. It's everywhere. So this brass, now that's going to be made gold. Oh, you got iron? Well, iron, the doors, okay, the nails. What's the iron going to change to? Silver. Silver doors, silver nails. Let's put a brass door frame there, made out of copper. Okay? So anything that's wood is going to be brass, anything that's brass is going to become gold. So this is a wood door frame right here, wood frame, okay. Take that out. Put copper. You got copper doors. Okay? I'll make your officers peace. All right? So your officers are going to be peace. Go ahead.
Violence shall no more be heard in thy land, wasting nor destruction within thy borders, but thou shalt call thy wall of salvation, and thy gates praise. The sun shall no more be no more thy light by day, neither for brightness shall the moon give light unto thee, but Yahweh shall give unto thee an everlasting light, and thy Allahiyah thy glory. Thy sun shall.
So this is a symbolism. The glory of Yahweh is going to make it like we don't even need no light. Go ahead.
Thy sun shall no more go down, neither shall thy moon withdraw itself. For Yahweh shall be thine everlasting light, and the days of thy mourning shall be ended. Thy people also shall be in all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever, the branch of my planting, the work of my hands, that I may be glorified. A little one shall become 1,000, and a small one a strong nation. I, Yahweh, will hasten it in his time.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
So everybody got that, right? So everything is going to be put back in order. Everything gonna be made right by the Most High Yahweh.
Matthew 4:13-24.
All right, Maria, Matthew 4:13 to what?
24.
Matthew 4:13 through 20. Matthew 4:13 through 24.
Matthew chapter 4, verse 13. And leaving Nazareth, he came and dwelt in Capernaum, which is upon the sea coast in the border of Zebulun and Naphtali, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by Esaias the prophet, saying, the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali darkness saw a great light, and to them which sat in the region and shadow of death, light is sprung up. From that time Yahushua began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And Yahushua, walking by the sea of Galilee, saw two brethren, Simon called Peter, and Andrew his brother, casting a net into the sea, for they were fishers. And he saith unto them, follow me, and I'll make you fishers of men. And they straightway left their nets and followed him. And going on from thence, he saw other two brethren, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, in a ship with Zebedee their father, mending their nets. And he called them, and they immediately left the ship and their father, and followed him. And Yahushua went out all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, and preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing all manner of sickness, and all manner of disease among torments, and those which were possessed with devils, and those which were lunatic, and those that had the palsy, and he healed them.
Okay, all right, very good. So that includes that concludes the Torah reading for the Shabbat. All right. And what we read about Yahushua Hamashiach and healing people and what he did and gathering people together. These are things that were done again because he was walking in Chakma, walking in wisdom. Okay? Walking in wisdom. And wisdom was what was showing him, favor, his virtue with Yahweh through doing the things that Chakma said to do. So that people with the palsy could be healed and people that could be risen from the dead because he had a surplus of Chakma. He had a surplus of wisdom, of virtue that he had built up, again, from walking in the Proverbs. Okay. So I guess we can, let's say Yahushua's praying in real quick. Imadu wapanya yadao shalom. Abanaw, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwathka, Aba'ah, Ratizaka, Haya Aisha, Baratiza,
Kahaya, Bashamayim, Danawa, Lakam, Kalyawam, Wasilakanawa, Kabawatnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kabawathinawa, Wala'a, Tabiyanawa, Banasayawan, Abal, Haushinawa, Manri, Kaya, Laka, Hamalakwath, Waha'ala, Wadaparat, La'iwalamyam, Aman, Shami, Yashalala, Yahweh, Alhaynawa, Yahweh, Akhad, Wahadda, Ad Yahweh, Alhayaka, Bakalababka,
Wabakal Napashka, Wabakal Ma'atka, Hallelujah, 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 Bashem, Yahushi, Hamashiach,
Mashiach,
Aman.
Aman.
Shabbat Shalom to everybody that joined us on here today. Shabbat Shalom to you. May Yahweh bless you, protect you, and give you salvation, understanding, and righteousness. All right, Shabbat Shalom to everybody. And we're going to end.